Tonight, we're breaking down the weirdest laws of the wizarding world. This is a fascinating topic, but I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off to sleep. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. Imagine waking up in a world where the very air is thick with the possibility of magic, where a flick of a wooden stick can mend a broken bone or conjure a feast from thin air. It sounds like a dream, a liberation from the mundane physics of our everyday lives. But as you step into the cobblestone streets of the wizarding world, you quickly realize that this society is not a chaotic free-for-all. It is governed by a web of regulations so dense, so specific, and occasionally so bizarre that they seem to defy the very logic of the magic they seek to control. We often think of the Ministry of Magic as a place of wonder, but beneath the golden statues and flying memos lies a bureaucratic machine obsessed with order, secrecy, and the prevention of catastrophe. Why is it that a wizard can teleport across a continent but cannot legally create a single gold coin to pay for his lunch? Why does the government track the accidental sparks of a child while seemingly ignoring the darkest of curses until it is far too late? The stakes of these laws are higher than they first appear. This isn't just about avoiding a fine or a stern letter from the improper use of magic office. The entire foundation of this hidden civilization rests on a single, fragile pillar, the International Statute of Secrecy. Established in 1692, this law was born out of blood and fear. It was the wizarding world's response to the witch hunts, the trials, and the persecution that threatened to wipe their kind from the face of the earth. To stay safe, they chose to vanish. But that vanishing act requires constant, vigilant maintenance. Every law in this world, no matter how petty it seems, is a brick in the wall that keeps the magical and non-magical worlds from colliding in a way that would lead to total war. When Arthur Weasley is fined 50 galleons for bewitching a muggle car, it isn't just about a flying Ford Anglia. It's about the terrifying possibility of a muggle seeing something they cannot explain and the domino effect of exposure that could follow. Yet as we look closer, when the mystery deepens, there are rules that seem to exist purely to frustrate the natural progression of magical talent. The decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery, which treats a 17-year-old as a master of their craft, but treats a 16-year-old like a dangerous criminal for performing a simple lighting charm in their own bedroom. The strange, immutable laws of nature, known as Gamp's laws of elemental transfiguration, which dictate that even the most powerful wizard cannot bring back the dead or create food from a void. These aren't just ministry mandates, they are the fundamental constraints of the universe. And then there are the truly peculiar cases, like the legal restrictions on breeding basilisks or the strangely specific ban on using charms on goats. What leads a government to sit down and write a law about goats? What specific incident occurred in the history of magic to make that a priority? Tonight, we are going on a journey through the halls of the wizengamot and the dusty archives of the ministry to understand the logic behind the illogical. We will explore how a society that can bend time and space still finds itself shackled by paperwork and ancient decrees. We will look at the harshness of Azkaban, the terror of the Unforgivable Curses, and the small, quiet regulations that govern the everyday lives of every witch and wizard. We are peeling back the curtain on a legal system that is as enchanting as it is frustrating, as noble as it is corrupt. We are seeking to understand how these rules shape the heroes we know and the villains we fear. So, settle in, get comfortable, and let the flickering torchlight of the wizarding world guide you. We are about to uncover the secrets hidden within the fine print of magical law, exploring a world where the stroke of a quill can be just as powerful as the wave of a wand. In 1692, the air in colonial Massachusetts hung thick with dread. The the kind that seeps into bones like winter fog off the Atlantic. Whispers of spectral shapes and cursed livestock had spread from Salem village like a contagion, turning neighbours into accusers overnight. What began as girls' convulsions in the Paris household exploded into a frenzy, with fingers pointing at anyone who seemed too clever with herbs or too quick with a remedy. But beneath the hysteria lay a deeper wound, one that severed the last threads of trust between wizards and muggles forever. You can almost hear the crackle of courtroom benches under frantic spectators, smell the acrid tang of ink on indictments as magistrates demanded confessions. Over 200 souls faced charges of witchcraft that year, 19 hanged on Gallows Hill, their necks snapping against Puritan ropes under a sky that wept sleet. Giles Corey, pressed to death beneath heavy stones for refusing to plead, gasped his final words into the mud. Yet this wasn't mere muggle paranoia run wild. Wizards walked among them then, in an era when magical folk still aided villages with discreet healings or protections against blight, sharing knowledge in shadowed alliances forged centuries earlier. That fragile cooperation crumbled under the weight of fear. Puritan divines preached of Satan's legions, and when spells misfired or potions soured in panicked hands, the backlash was merciless. A healer from Salem town, known in wizarding circles as Elias Hawthorne, tried to intervene with a subtle memory charm on a key witness. It backfired spectacularly. The girl, already tormented by visions, shrieked of demons clawing from her skin, her ravings amplified by the charm's echo. Elias fled into the night, but not before his own wife was dragged to the gallows, her wand snapped publicly as a devil's twig. Word spread through Owl Post to wizarding enclaves, from Boston to Philadelphia. The Muggles had turned, their trials no longer distinguishing between ally and enemy. This violent catalyst, the Salem Witch Trials, marked the absolute end of wizard-muggle cooperation. Wizards who once bartered spells for grain or joined militias against native raids now saw their kind branded as abominations. Families who'd intermingled for generations faced betrayal. A half-blood wizard in Andover watched his muggle in-laws testify against his mother, her screams drowned by the crowd's roar as flames licked her skirts. The trials weren't just executions, they were a purge that exposed every hidden wand, every whispered incantation. By autumn, wizarding emissaries reported pyres in Connecticut and executions in Maine, the contagion leaping borders like fiend fire. Across the ocean, the International Confederation of Wizards convened in emergency session at the old Wizengamot halls in London. Delegates from France, Germany, even distant Japan gathered, their faces gaunt under flickering lumos orbs. Why, had they debated into the dawn, had integration failed so catastrophically? Centuries of uneasy partnership had yielded progress, shared defences against plagues, Muggle engineers aiding castle fortifications, but the scales tipped when Muggle numbers swelled and their firearms outpaced broom speeds. One French delegate, Madame Lefebvre, slammed her fist on the oak table, recounting how Rouen burnings had halved her coven. A Scottish laird spoke of Highland clearances, where wizards were hunted alongside Jacobites. The pattern was clear. Muggles, empowered by printing presses, spreading witch hunt manuals, and gunpowder eclipsing hexes, no longer needed magical aid. They feared it instead. Isolation emerged not as defeat, but survival's cold calculus. The Confederation voted unanimously. No more open alliances, no more Muggle advisors in magical councils. Wizards would retreat, veiling their world behind Fidelius charms and obliviate waves. The International Statute of Secrecy would codify it, born from that 1692 crucible. But the choice carried a shadow deeper than any disillusionment charm. For magical families, the Great Hiding demanded a psychological toll that echoed through generations. Picture a young witch in a cramped Salem attic, her parents apparating her away just before dawn raids, her tiny hands clutching a rag doll transfigured from a potato. She never saw her Muggle grandparents again, their memories scrubbed from her mind like chalk from slate. Fathers taught sons to suppress accidental magic in Muggle schools, biting back sobs as fireworks burst from frustrated palms during arithmetic lessons. Our mothers wept over heirloom grimoires sealed in warded trunks, their daughters learning to feign ignorance of stars' alignments lest a playground slip invite inquisitors. The hiding, fractured identities. Purebloods mourned lost estates blended into Muggle farmlands. Half-bloods navigated dual lives like ghosts in their own skins. Generations internalized the vigilance. Children grew up whispering lumos under bed covers, afraid of their own light. Weddings shifted to midnight clearings, births to hidden midwife circles, every joy shrouded lest a stray cheer carry too far. The toll manifested in haunted eyes at Diagon Alley gatherings, in the rise of Squib isolation, as families prized concealment over compassion. Healers noted spikes in dreamless sleep potion demands, nightmares of pyres haunting even those unborn in 1692. Our one wizarding chronicler, writing in 1805, called it the soul's slow imperious, a voluntary curse binding hearts as tightly as any statute. Yet from this breaking point rose the wizarding world's peculiar laws, those baffling edicts that twist logic into knots. Rules against dragon breeding or underage spells? They stem from the terror of exposure, every restriction a brick in the great invisible wall. And as we peel back that wall's origins, you'll see how the Statute of Secrecy became not just a law, but a golden cage, beautiful in its protections, suffocating in its grip. Up next in Chapter 2, the Statute of Secrecy. A golden cage, we uncover the hidden luxuries and brutal trade-offs that turned hiding into an art form, leaving you wondering just how free wizards truly are behind their charms. Out of that shattering decision for isolation came the International Statute of Secrecy, ratified in 1692 by the International Confederation of Wizards, a binding decree that slammed the door on the Muggle world forever. This wasn't some vague agreement to lay low. It was a meticulously worded edict, etched in enchanted parchment that glowed faintly under moonlight, declaring that no witch or wizard could perform magic in the presence of a Muggle unless their life was in immediate peril. Every incantation, every flick of a wand, every shimmer of transfiguration had to vanish into the shadows if a single, non-magical eye might catch it. The language here is chilling in its precision. Wizards weren't just told to hide, they were commanded to treat every Muggle as a latent informant, a walking breach waiting to happen. Potential threat isn't my phrasing, it's baked into the statute's clauses, which mandate obliviations for any accidental sightings, memory charms that wipe minds clean like rain on a window pane. One glimpse of a levitating teacup, one accidental spark from a child's untrained burst of magic, and the entire society could unravel. The framers, haunted by Salem's pyres still smouldering in their memories, crafted penalties that turned vigilance into paranoia, fines in galleons that could bankrupt a family, wands snapped in half during public hearings, even exile to remote wizarding outposts where the air itself hummed with isolation spells. You can almost hear the quills scratching in that tense convention hall, the air thick with pipe smoke and the faint ozone of defensive charms. The statute didn't stop at prohibition. It erected invisible fortresses around wizarding life, unplottable manners that repelled Muggle compasses, flue networks whispering through fireplaces in hidden hearths, apparition points tucked into fog-shrouded alleys where no footfall but a wizard's could land. Diagon Alley became the blueprint for this subterranean existence, its cobblestones alive with the murmur of haggling voices, the scent of potion fumes curling from cauldrons, all shielded by Fidelius charms so potent that Muggles walked past without a second glance, their eyes sliding away, like water off oilskin. Hogsmeade, The only all-wizard village in Britain sprouted up as a defiant enclave, its 3 broomsticks pouring butterbeer under rafters charmed to muffle laughter that might drift too far. This mandate birthed a permanent underground society, one where children learned to suppress their magic in muggle homes, apparition lessons happened in warded barns at midnight, and international portkeys hummed in cellars, ferrying families across borders without a trace. Weddings whispered in veiled gardens, births celebrated in soundproofed chambers, deaths mourned with veils that concealed grief from prying eyes. The wizarding world shrank into itself, a glittering realm of secrets where Gringotts vaults guarded fortunes earned in shadows, and the Daily Prophet's headlines screamed warnings about muggle encroachments. Electric lights flickering too close to the leaky cauldron's threshold. Yet beneath this gilded veil of safety lurked fractures no one foresaw. The statute's ironclad separation, meant to protect, slowly poisoned the well of tolerance. Wizards, confined to their hidden enclaves, began to whisper that muggles weren't just threats, they were lesser beings. Their world, a crude mockery of true power. Pure-blood families tracing lineages back to Merlin started hoarding heirlooms and scorning half-bloods who dared mingle with the non-magical. This was the unintended consequence, the birth of wizarding supremacy movements that simmered in the drawing rooms of old manors. Gellert Grindelwald would later fan those flames with visions of magical dominance, but the seeds were sown here, in 1692's legal forge. Families like the Blacks etched mottos into tapestries. Toujours pur, as if secrecy justified superiority, their house elves scurrying in the gloom, while portraits sneered at muggle-borns. The Malfoys amassed influence, not just through wealth, but through a creed that painted the statute as divine proof of wizards' rightful seclusion. Even moderate voices, like those in the ministry, internalized the divide, their policies laced with an undercurrent of disdain. Why share wonders with those who burned us? Courtrooms echoed with trials, where muggle baiters walked free if they claimed statute defense, and underground pamphlets circulated in Nocturne Alley, railing against dilution of the bloodline. The cage was golden, yes, lined with the soft glow of wandlight and the comfort of community, but its bars warped perspectives, turning self-preservation into something far more dangerous. Generations passed under this shroud, and the underground society deepened its roots. Hogwarts itself became a pressure cooker, sorting children into houses that mirrored these budding supremacist divides, Slytherin's dungeons fostering whispers of muggle inferiority, while Gryffindor's towers preached chivalry laced with caution. Quidditch pitches thrummed with crowds invisible to the muggle valleys below, and the Forbidden Forest teemed with creatures that no non-magical law could touch. But cracks appeared, accidental magic from Squibs echoing in muggle streets, portkey mishaps stranding wizards in crowded markets, each incident met with owls from the improper use of magic office, their parchments sealed with wax that burned cold to the touch. The statute's language, so absolute, left no room for nuance. A farmer spotting a thestral's skeletal wings was as grave a breach as a full-blown duel in Trafalgar Square. Wizards adapted with grim ingenuity, disillusionment cloaks draped over broomsticks for midnight flights, polyjuice brewed in haste to impersonate lost muggle relatives. Yet the isolation festered, birthing secret societies like the Order of the Phoenix, not just to fight darkness, but to defend the fragile secrecy that now defined them. As the centuries wore on, this golden cage gleamed brighter in prosperity, but grew heavier with its own weight. The Warlocks' Convention of 1709 layered on bans like dragon breeding, all to buttress the statute's core, keep the beasts hidden, lest their roars shatter the illusion. Muggle-borns, thrust into this cloistered world, navigated it with a double burden. Their families left behind in oblivious normalcy, birthdays marked by owls slipping through letterboxes under cover of night. And the supremacy whispers grew into roars during times of strain, fueling blood purist rallies in shadowed halls, where speakers decried the statute not as protection, but as a half measure. Why hide when we could rule? Voldemort's rise was no accident. It was the statute's long shadow, twisting secrecy into entitlement, the underground society's air thick with the perfume of unchallenged power. And it all hinged on enforcement mechanisms that watched every young spark of magic like a hawk. Which brings us to the next layer of this hidden empire, the trace magical surveillance state, where the ministry's invisible eyes turn even children's wandless wonders into potential crimes, tracking pulses of power across the veil. How did they weave spells into the very fabric of growing up, ensuring no breach went unnoticed? Stick around. Yeah, you won't believe the web they spun. That permanent underground society demanded ironclad rules to keep the sparks of magic from flickering into Muggle view, especially from the least predictable sources, children bursting with untamed power. In 1875, the ministry rolled out the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery, a law that slammed the door on young witches and wizards casting spells anywhere outside Hogwarts or its grounds until they hit 17. Picture 11-year-old, fresh off the Hogwarts Express, tempted to levitate their trunk in a crowded Muggle train station. That decree made it illegal, punishable by warnings that escalated fast into expulsion, snapped wands, and a lifetime ban from magic. But the real genius, or horror, lay in its enforcement. The trace. A subtle detection spell woven directly onto every underage wizard the moment they got their Hogwarts letter. This trace wasn't some clunky gadget or watchful owl. It was magic monitoring magic, a passive enchantment that pinged the ministry's improper use of magic office whenever a spell registered near an underage caster. Not just any spell, it zeroed in on the magical signature of the child, flagging unauthorized bursts of power in their vicinity. If you were a first-year sneaking a Lumos in your bedroom to fend off nightmares, the ministry knew. A second offence and the owls descended with expulsion notices, your wand confiscated at the gates of Hogwarts. The spell even timed out automatically on your 17th birthday, vanishing like morning mist, freeing you to apparate or transfigure without a backward glance. Yet here's where the surveillance state sharpens into something eerily selective. The ministry fixated on children because adults were presumed to grasp the stakes. Decades of schooling and societal drumbeat had drilled the International Statute of Secrecy into them. Kids, though, raw talent without restraint, prone to accidental magic that could shatter windows or summon fireworks in a neighbour's garden. The trace acted as a digital leash, alerting authorities to potential breaches before they spiralled. But adults around those children? Utterly ignored. A parent could brew polyjuice in the kitchen while their kids stirred the cauldron, or an uncle might demonstrate a Patronus to impress the family. No trace pinged, no owl swooped. The system trusted the grown-ups to police themselves. I'm blind to the irony that the biggest risks often brewed under their noses. This oversight wasn't mere oversight. It exposed the decree's rotten core, the pure-blood loophole that reeked of old prejudices. In homes of ancient pure bloodlines, where no Muggle blood diluted the family tree, the ministry turned a deliberately blind eye. They knew those sprawling manors, grim old place, the Malfoys' icy estate, housed only wizards, so casual magic inside posed no secrecy threat. No trace activated there. Children flung hexes at siblings, or enchanted teacups to dance without a whisper to the regulators. Muggle-borns and half-bloods, though, their childhood homes, cheek by jowl with oblivious muggles, became panopticons. Every accidental Wingardium Leviosa on a sibling's homework triggered alarms, while pure-blood kids practiced unchecked. It wasn't protection, it was privilege coded into law, stacking the deck against those without wizarding pedigrees from birth. Enforcement played out in stark contrasts. Harry Potter's summer at the Dursleys turned every creak of magic into a ministry spectacle. Dobby's hovering aunt, his own snapped wand spewing sparks, all flagged instantly. Meanwhile, pure-blood households hummed with unregulated spells, their kids honing skills years ahead, widening the chasm before Hogwarts even began. The wizengamot might pontificate fairness, but the trace's mechanics betrayed them. Location mattered more than the act itself. A spell in a muggle suburb? Instant scrutiny. In a wizarding enclave? Silence. This magical panopticon extended its gaze unevenly, fostering resentment that simmered through generations. Muggle-born families whispered of owls at midnight, while purebloods smirked at their untouchable enclaves. The decree promised reasonable restriction, but delivered a discriminatory dragnet, monitoring the vulnerable while sparing the elite. And as we'll uncover in Chapter 4, Wandless and Dangerous, the real perils erupt when wands aren't even in play, when raw, uncontrolled magic slips every leash the Ministry ever dreamed up. But those second offences, under the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery, don't just end a school career, they unleash the terrifying penalty of wand destruction and permanent magical exile, stripping a wizard forever from the very essence of their power. Picture the Ministry's wand-snapping ceremony, a ritual as cold and final as a grave being sealed, and held in a dimly lit chamber deep within the Ministry of Magic, under the watchful eyes of the improper use of magic office. An official grips the offender's wand, often a family heirloom, 11 inches of holly or yew, pulsing with years of spells, and with a sharp crack snaps it clean in two. The sound echoes like brittle bone breaking, and in that instant, the wizard's magical core severs its tie to the instrument that defined them. No repair charm can mend it. No Ollivander's replacement awaits. You're out forever. This isn't mere punishment, it's identity theft on a metaphysical level. Your wand isn't just a tool, it's an extension of your soul, chosen at age 11 in Diagon Alley amid swirling dust motes and the scent of dragon heartstring. Lose it, and you're adrift, a muggle in wizard's robes, condemned to a life where spells fizzle on your tongue like whispers in the wind. The Ministry calls it permanent prohibition from using magic, but wizards whisper of it as the wandless exile, a fate worse than Azkaban for those born to the craft. Take Hagrid, that gentle giant whose story haunts every Hogwarts first year. At just 13, accused of unleashing the Chamber of Secrets, though we now know Tom Riddle's hand was far dirtier, his wand met the snapper's blade. 13 inches of oak, confiscated and shattered before the wizengamot. Expelled, exiled, reduced to groundskeeper on the fringes of magic, Hagrid lived wandless for decades, his massive hands forever empty. His spells reduced to half-formed bursts that barely lit a fire. Even after proving his innocence in later years, no new wand came. The Ministry's decree held firm, a bureaucratic chain tighter than any spell. Or consider young Arabella Figg, the squib aunt we glimpse in later tales, though a path skirted close. No, look to the forgotten cases buried in Ministry archives. Elias Blackthorne, a 15-year-old from a minor pure bloodline, caught hexing a muggle postman in a fit of teenage rage during the summer of 1876. First warning ignored, his second burst of magic triggered the trace's alarm. Before the wizengamot, wand snapped, 10 inches of rigid ebony, leaving him to wander Nocturne Alley as a beggar, peddling fake potion ingredients until despair claimed him. Minor infraction, you say? To the Ministry, exposure risks outweighed mercy. Then there's the tragic Myra Voss, a half-blood witch from Godric's Hollow. Just 16 when she enlarged her neighbour's cat to scare off a bully in 1902. The trace flared, owls descended. Her vinewood wand, supple and loyal, through 5 years at Hogwarts, cracked under the official's grip. Stripped of her identity, Mira vanished into the muggle world, working as a seamstress in London. Her fingers itching for wandless charms she dared not attempt. Whispers say she wasted away, eyes hollow, magic leaking from her like a sieve. These case studies of wizards, stripped of their identity for minor infractions, reveal the system's ruthlessness. where a single lapse erases a lifetime of potential. Purebloods might buy influence for lesser fines, but for most, the snap is final judgment. No appeals, no second chances. The Wizengamot Charter of Rights offers witnesses and representation, yet for underage violations, it's perfunctory. The trace's evidence is ironclad. And how does the Ministry ensure a snapped wizard never practices again? It's a web of enchantments and surveillance, woven tighter than a goblin's vault. First, the snapped wand fragments are incinerated in phoenix flame. Their core, unicorn hair, phoenix feather, dragon heartstring, rendered inert ash, scattered to the winds over the North Sea. No resurrection possible, but that's just the start. Every wizard's magical signature is logged at birth via the Ministry's registry, tied to their wand's unique aura. Post-snapping, an imprisonment charm brands the offender's palm with an invisible rune, detectable by auror revealer spells. Attempt a spell, any spell, even the simplest lumus, and the rune ignites, alerting the improper use of magic office within seconds. Flow networks flag them. Apparition points reject their twist. Even wandless magic, rare and unstable as it is for most, triggers backlash. Fakes that shatter skulls, or worse, wild surges that expose them to muggles. Wizards have tried loopholes. Black market wands from Durmstrang smugglers. Borrowed cores from beasts in the Forbidden Forest. All fail. The Goblet of Fire's Age Ward pales against this. A snapped wizard's magic rejects any new vessel, rebounding like oil on water. Ministry patrols, disguised as muggle policemen, shadow repeat offenders. Lisette de Lapin's escape from a muggle cell in 1422. A cautionary tale. Today's exiles face Azkaban proper if they persist. This wandless existence breeds desperation. Some turn to potions brewed by hand, stirring cauldrons with muggle tools, eking out feeble elixirs. Others join the fringes. Poachers in the Black Forest, whispering incantations that barely summon sparks. But the Ministry's grip endures, a shadow over every candlelit hovel where a snapped wizard dreams of Diagon Alley. The Statute of Secrecy demands such severity. Born from those bloody witch hunts, we traced back through the trace's watchful eye. One loose spell from a desperate exile could unravel it all. Yet as the 18th century dawned, wizards sought broader safeguards, gathering in secretive conventions to forge new barriers against exposure. Up next, the Warlocks Convention of 1709 reveals how they banned the unbanishable, turning dragons and worse into legal ghosts. What forbidden breeding sparked that desperate clampdown? Even the wizards stripped of their wands in those early days of exile understood one unspoken truth. True catastrophe lurked not in a snapped stick of holly or vine, but in the skies above the remote Scottish Highlands, where colossal shadows stirred under moonlight. Just 17 years after the Statute of Secrecy slammed the door on the Muggle world, delegates from every corner of the wizarding globe converged in the shadowed halls of the Warlocks Convention of 1709. Their robes heavy with the damp chill of a Norwegian fjordside castle. Grim-faced warlocks from the Ministry of Magic, ancient clan leaders from the dragon-riding tribes of Eastern Europe, and even reclusive beast handlers from the African savannas packed the chamber, pipes glowing faintly as arguments echoed off rune-etched stone walls. The air thickened with the acrid scent of flue powder residue and unwashed travelling cloaks, but beneath it all hung the sulphurous dread of what had transpired in the years since isolation. Reports flooded in from wizards tasked with containment. Norwegian ridgebacks scorching entire villages in Wales. Hungarian horntails nesting too close to burgeoning Muggle trade routes in the Carpathians. Their roars mistaken for thunder, but their flames leaving telltale scars no Obliviate could fully erase. One delegate, a burly Romanian with soot-streaked beard, slammed a charred dragon scale onto the oaken table, its gleam catching torchlight like a forbidden jewel. Breeding these beasts, once a proud tradition for potion ingredients, wand cores, and even elite Quidditch broom reinforcements, had spiraled into chaos. Herds multiplied unchecked in hidden valleys, their offspring demanding vast territories that no disillusionment charm could fully cloak amid growing Muggle populations. In a vote that lasted through the night, fueled by black coffee laced with pepper-up potion, the convention declared it. Dragon breeding became a felony overnight, punishable by immediate imprisonment in the newly fortified cells of what would become Azkaban. No more private sanctuaries, no more experimental crossbreeds, like the ill-fated Ridgeback Horntail hybrids that had already singed the edges of Muggle farmlands. The rationale carved into the convention's parchment charter was brutally simple. Dragons grew too vast, too fiery, too impossible to conceal forever. A single escaped hatchling could unravel the fragile statute, drawing pitchforks, and worse from a world still raw from witch hunts. Wizards who defied it faced not just fines, but the confiscation of eggs, destruction of lairs, and wand checks by international auror squads sweeping the Alps and Pyrenees. Yet the ban's true horror unfolded in the generations that followed, as Muggle ingenuity leaped forward while wizards huddled in secrecy. By the 20th century, those same massive magical beasts, now confined to ministry-regulated reserves in remote Romanian mountains or volcanic isles off Iceland, present a logistical nightmare no convention had fully anticipated, hiding them from Muggle satellites. Picture the tension in the Department of Magical Creatures war room, deep beneath the Ministry atrium, where enchanted maps flickered with false cloud cover spells, straining against high-resolution orbital eyes. A Chinese fireball's wingspan, stretching 30 feet across sun-baked scales that shimmered like molten rubies, could register as anomalous heat signatures on infrared scans from American spy birds circling at 20,000 miles up. One errant common Welsh green, basking on a fjord ledge, its emerald hide absorbing sunlight, risked appearing as an unidentified landmass shift to cartographers in Moscow. Aurors deployed squadrons on broomsticks at dawn, casting Mafliato over roars that vibrated through granite, while higher-ups coordinated with unspeakables to weave global veil spells. Massive illusions bending satellite feeds into harmless static or rerouted data streams. But the beasts didn't cooperate. A Hebridean Black's nocturnal flights left contrails of ionized air that pinged weather radars from Cape Canaveral to Baikonur. Reserves became fortresses, ringed by anti-apparition wards and perpetual fog charms thick enough to choke a thestral. Yet every full moon brought the gamble. One leaked image in 1982, a blurry Swedish short-snout silhouette amid Scottish peat bogs, sparked Muggle conspiracy forums buzzing for months. Obliviators dispatched in frantic outpost relays to every tabloid editor from London to Perth. From these ironclad environmental bans slithered a shadow economy that no wizengamot decree could stamp out. The black market trade in dragon parts and progeny. Deep in the underbelly of Nocturne Alley, whispers drew hooded figures to backroom apothecaries, where vials of Hungarian horntail blood fetched 500 galleons a dram, prized for its potency in strengthening solutions that turned auras into near-invincibles. Smugglers, often disgraced breeders exiled from the convention's fallout, apparated eggs harvested from wild clutches in the Urals, wrapping them in goblin-forged stasis crates that mimicked Muggle steamer trunks. Diagon Alley's less savoury corners hummed with deals for shed scales, traded for Norwegian ridgeback heartstring cores that wand makers craved despite the risks. Raids became legend. In 1753, a Diagon sting netted a ring-peddling Peruvian viper-tooth venom, their lair a transfigured sewer grate pulsing with heat wards. By the 1900s, international task forces tracked galleon trails from Brazilian ports to Bulgarian caves, where poachers charmed dragons into torpor with sleeping draught-laced bait, harvesting venom sacs under invisibility cloaks, while satellites whirred overhead. Fines soared to 10,000 galleons per offence, yet demand persisted. Healers needed the bile for burn salves. Alchemists chased the elusive flame essence for fireworks that lit illegal duels. Aberforth Dumbledore's own brushes with beastly charms paled against these syndicates. whose leaders vanished into Fidelius-protected vaults, leaving only singed Gringotts ledgers in their wake. This web of secrecy and prohibition stretched thin as dragonhide, binding the wizarding world tighter, with every orbiting eye and smuggled scale. But what happens when even the laws of magic themselves conspire to keep wizards scraping by, unable to conjure their way out of hardship? Coming up in Chapter 6, Gamp's Law. The physics of poverty reveals why no spell can summon gold or feast from empty air, trapping even the mightiest witches in cycles of enchanted want that make dragon bands look like child's play. Hiding those colossal dragons from Muggle satellites demanded cunning and constant vigilance, but it paled against a far more personal wizengamot, scraping by in a world where gold doesn't grow on enchanted trees. Gamp's law of elemental transfiguration stands as the ironclad barrier, dictating what magic simply cannot touch, starting with the glittering temptation of wealth itself. Deep in the annals of wizarding theory, old Wilbert Gamp laid down these elemental truths centuries ago, rules etched into the fabric of magic like laws of gravity for muggles. You might picture a desperate Gringotts teller, wand raised in the dead of night, whispering spells to summon stacks of galleons from thin air. It works at first. The coins gleam, heavy and real in your palm, clinking with promise as you stuff them into your vault. But hours later, perhaps by dawn's light, they fade like mist, crumbling to dust or vanishing outright, leaving you poorer than before, with ministry owls en route if anyone noticed the flicker. This is why wizards can't simply conjure gold to solve their economic problems. No amount of transfiguration training at Hogwarts bridges that gap. The magic unravels because currency isn't just metal. It's a symbol backed by trust, labour, and the collective faith of a society. Conjure a sickle, and you forged a counterfeit that the universe itself rejects, turning abundance into accusation. That brings us to the false currency rule, the cruel heart of Gamp's prohibition. Any conjured money is a short-term illusion, destined to evaporate within hours, often faster under scrutiny. We've seen echoes in tales from the Leaky Cauldron, where a down-on-his-luck wizard flashes newfound riches at the bar, only for his tankard to buy nothing come morning. The coins don't just disappear. They betray you, sometimes alerting goblin accountants through some arcane resonance tied to Gringotts vaults. It's as if the gold remembers its fraudulent birth, dissolving back into ether to preserve the delicate balance of trade. Picture the Weasleys in their burrow, patching holes in cauldrons, while Arthur tinkers with muggle plugs for extra sickles. Molly could multiply loaves or summon feasts from Hogwarts stores, but never fabricate the funds to escape their perpetual thrift. Even the Malfoy vaults, bloated with ancient heirlooms, rely on breeding hippogriffs or brewing rare potions for profit, not endless conjuring. Dumbledore himself, with power vast enough to bend time, never minted a knut from nothing. He bartered with knowledge and favours instead. These restrictions ripple through every alley of Diagon Street. Nocturne merchants hawk dubious artifacts, because real galleons must be earned. Mined from goblin forges, traded for dragon scales smuggled past the warlock's convention bands, or won in high-stakes duels at the ministry's underbelly. Flood the market with phantom gold, and inflation would devour the wizarding world overnight. But Gamp ensures no such catastrophe. Wizards mine, brew, breed and beg like the rest of us, their wands amplifying toil but never erasing it. Delve deeper, and you sense the law's wisdom woven into magic's core. Transfigure a teacup to a galleon. It holds shape until spent, then poofs away mid-transaction, humiliating the fraudster before a crowd of jeering shopkeepers. The ministry logs these failures via the improper use of magic office, slapping fines that only deepen the debtor's hole. Remember Ludo Bagman, gambling his Quidditch winnings into oblivion. He couldn't magic up escape. His debts chained him until desperation drove him underground. Yet this poverty physics fosters ingenuity. Wizarding banks thrive on actual deposits, from Florian Fortescue's ice cream empire to Zonko's prankster windfalls. Galleons circulate with stories attached, cursed heirlooms from black family vaults, rewards from auror bounties, even tithes from international flow network fees. Without Gamp's veto, why toil in potion labs or patrol dark alleys? The law compels commerce, tethering wizards to the grind of supply and demand. How these elemental limitations keep the wizarding economy tethered to reality becomes stark in crises. During Voldemort's sieges, when trade halted and vaults emptied, no spell summoned salvation. Families bartered heirloom wands or smuggled mandrakes for survival. Post-war, the ministry rebuilt not by fiat magic, but through galleon-backed bonds and goblin loans, echoing muggle recessions where value must be forged, not faked. Even the elite feel the pinch. Lucius Malfoy's influence bought luxuries, but his core wealth stemmed from potion patents and manor rents, not conjured hoards. Imagine the hubris of trying. A pure-blood lord, sneering at muggle stock markets, only to watch his illusory fortune fade as house elves polish the same dusty ledgers year after year. Gamp's shadow extends beyond gold, hinting at broader impossibilities that shape daily wizarding life. But it's this monetary muzzle that enforces humility. Wizards, for all their spells, wake to the same dawn of scarcity, haggling over fire whiskey prices, while muggles drone through spreadsheets oblivious to the shared struggle. And if conjuring cash is a fool's mirage, what happens when hunger strikes in a world bound by even stricter rules? That's the riddle we'll unravel next in Chapter 7. The Sandwich Paradox, where the simple act of eating exposes magic's most baffling blind spot. If conjured gold crumbles to dust in your vault after a few hours, vanishing like a cruel joke from the ministry, what hope does a starving wizard have for a simple meal pulled from the ether? Gamp's law strikes again, but this time it hits where it hurts most, right in the gut. Food, that most basic need, can't be whipped up from thin air any more than galleons can fill your pockets for good. It's the heart of what wizards call the Sandwich Paradox, named for that fleeting moment in the Order of the Phoenix when Professor McGonagall snaps her fingers and sandwiches appear on a table mid-crisis. You remember the scene, don't you? The room thick with tension, the air humming from recent spells, and there they are, plump, seeded rolls stuffed with ham and cheese, steam rising faintly as if freshly sliced. But those weren't born from nothing. No, they were summoned, yanked from the endless larders of Hogwarts kitchens, where house elves toil without pause. Let's pull back the curtain on how this works, because the rules of food transfiguration and summoning form one of the wizarding world's most unyielding foundations. Transfiguration, at its core, is about changing one thing into another, turning a matchstick into a needle, or a teacup into a tortoise. But with food, the spells narrow sharply. You can multiply what's already there, like the house elves do with loaves of bread that stretch to feed 1,000 students at the Yule Ball, each slice as fresh and crusty as the first. Or you can purify and prepare, banishing mold from a withered apple, or enlarging a single potato into a feast for the burrow. Feel the weight of that potato in your hand, cool and earthy, dirt still clinging to its skin, doubling, tripling under a whispered engorgio until it spills over the edges of the plate, starchy steam curling up like a promise of warmth. Summoning takes it further. A flick of the wand pulls existing food from a known location, be it a pantry across the castle or a hidden cache in the Forbidden Forest. McGonagall's sandwiches, house elves in the bowels of Hogwarts, elbow deep in flour and brine, feel the tug of her magic and package them up, sending them hurtling through house elf, housewarming spells straight to her fingertips. Yet here's the cruel twist that keeps wizards bound to the soil, like any muggle farmer. You cannot create food from thin air. Gamp's law declares it an elemental impossibility, right alongside that fleeting money. And the ghosts who linger instead of truly returning, try it, and your spell fizzles into smoke, or worse, produces a mockery, a loaf that tastes of ash, or fruit that dissolves on the tongue like poisoned honey. The magic senses the void, the nothing you're trying to fill, and rejects it outright. Why? Some say it's tied to the very fabric of creation, a safeguard woven into the world's magic by forces older than Merlin. Others whisper of ancient pacts with nature spirits. Deals struck when the first wizards learned to bend reality, but not break its bones. Whatever the root, the law holds firm, enforced not by auras but by the spellwork itself, rebelling against the caster's will. Now picture a famine sweeping the wizarding enclaves. Fields scorched by rogue weather charms gone wild, or dragonfire raining from the skies after a botched breeding experiment. McGonagall stands at the edge of Hogsmeade, wand raised, eyes fierce behind her spectacles. Could she feed them all? Conjure mountains of bread to blanket the snow? No. Here's why McGonagall can't feed a famine. The limits of creating from nothing chain her hands as surely as any ministry decree. Every summoned loaf depletes a stockpile somewhere else. Pull too much from Hogwarts, and the elves scramble, rations thinning for the students come morning. Multiply a single carrot endlessly, and its magical essence phrase. By the 10th generation, it's tasteless mush, sustaining no one. The kitchens rely on deliveries from wizarding farms in the Scottish Highlands. Charmed greenhouses bursting with conjured sunlight, but still needing seeds, water, earth, transfigure rocks into roast beef. It might look the part, sizzle and all, juices pooling on the plate, with that savoury aroma teasing your nose. But bite down and it's grit and illusion, your teeth crunching stone while your stomach growls in betrayal. This leads us to the grim reality of magical hunger and resource management, a shadow that clings to even the mightiest witches and wizards. Beneath the glamour of floating candelabras and self-stirring cauldrons, the wizarding world runs on the sweat of house elves and the toil of farmers who breed wand-resistant wheat and drought-defying pumpkins. During the Second Wizarding War, when Voldemort's forces choked supply lines, hunger gnawed at the Order as fiercely as any curse. Remember the meagre meals at Grimmauld Place? Scraps multiplied just enough to quiet the rumbling bellies of children, but never more. The ministry hoarded stores under imperious-controlled overseers, doling out portions like prison rations, while pure-blood families feasted on smuggled delicacies from black market flu networks. Even Dumbledore, with his phoenix tears and elder wand, couldn't summon a banquet from the ether. He relied on the elves' hidden reserves, eked out through cunning enlargement charms and purification spells that stretched pumpkin pasties into something resembling plenty. Think of the logistical knots this ties. Wizarding villages like Godric's Hollow maintain communal silos, warded against house elf poachers and muggle tractors alike, stocked through annual harvest festivals where families contribute bushels of glow-in-the-dark gourds and self-peeling oranges. The International Confederation of Wizards debates quotas at every summit, balancing against the Statute of Secrecy. No mass apparitions to muggle supermarkets, no accidental spills of engorged livestock trampling fields. Fines await the reckless. 1,000 galleons for importing unregulated mandrakes that overrun a neighbour's allotment or worse. Expulsion from the flow network for hoarding during shortages. And in quieter times, it's the house elves who bear the brunt. Dobby's kind, invisible hands kneading dough at midnight, their magic the only bridge between Gamp's prohibition and a full belly. Yet they whisper among themselves in the steam-filled kitchens. Tales of masters who pushed too far, spells backfiring into barren platters that left entire households hollow-eyed and weak. This paradox shapes everything, from the daily grind of Diagon Alley bakers, charming their ovens to bake overnight, to the high-stakes gambles of wartime leaders rationing every crumb. It forces wizards to value the land, to haggle at market stalls over crates of fluxweed and knotgrass, haggling prices in sickles while eyeing the quality of the yield. No shortcuts, no divine intervention, just the slow alchemy of growth, harvest and spell-enhanced preservation. You can almost hear the elves' muffled chatter echoing through stone corridors, the clink of knives on cutting boards, the yeasty scent of rising dough mingling with the sharp tang of pickled gherkins. It's a world where magic amplifies abundance, but never invents it, leaving hunger as the great equalizer, pure blood or half-blood alike. We've lingered long enough on these empty plates and phantom feasts. But the laws grow darker still. In the next chapter, Chapter 8, the Resurrection Barrier will uncover why even the most desperate spells can't claw the dead back from their rest, and what ghostly loopholes wizards cling to in the face of finality. What shadows might they summon instead? Stay with me as we cross that threshold. Just as wizards can't conjure a feast from empty air to end a famine, they face an even starker void when confronting death itself. No spell, no potion, no ancient artifact can pull a departed soul back into a living body. This is the Resurrection Barrier, etched into the very fabric of magic by Gamp's laws of elemental transfiguration, standing as unyielding as the stone walls of Hogwarts. Picture the dim archives of the Ministry's Department of Mysteries, where dusty tomes whisper of failed experiments from centuries past. Wizards have chased this forbidden dream since the days of the Founders. Merlin himself, they say, once sought a way to defy the Reaper after losing his closest companions to a Muggle purge. He poured his genius into rituals that scorched the earth, shattered wands, but each attempt birthed only horrors. Twisted echoes that clawed at the veil between worlds, never crossing it fully. The law crystallized around these truths. The dead cannot be resurrected. It's not mere regulation, it's magical impossibility. Flesh that has cooled grows rigid under charms, refusing to knit with spells that mend the living. Souls once severed scatter like mist on wind, impossible to gather whole. Enforcement came swiftly after the Warlocks' Convention of 1709, when panicked delegates, haunted by tales of necromantic plagues in Eastern Europe, decreed any resurrection attempt a capital offence. You'd think grief would blind wizards to reason, but the Ministry saw the peril early. Imagine a world where every battlefield loss could be undone. Voldemort's armies swelling endlessly, or families trapping loved ones in half-lives of torment. The legal impossibility mirrors the magical one. Trials in the wizengamot, a soul-meddling end in Azkaban's depths. Wands snapped before judges who know the screams of those experiments still linger in forbidden vaults. Yet hope dies hardest. And that's where the Resurrection Stone enters the shadows. Legend ties it to the Deathly Hallows, one of 3 fabled relics promising mastery over mortality. Turn it thrice in your palm, speak the name of the lost, and they appear, not as flesh, but as spectral shades cold to the touch, their voices hollow echoes of memory. The Ministry brands it, a dangerous myth for good reason. In the hands of the desperate, it doesn't revive, it deceives. Harry Potter clutched it in the forest's gloom, summoning his parents, Sirius and Lupin. Wisps that offered comfort but faded like smoke, unable to touch, to truly return. Seekers before him went mad, chasing these phantoms across moors and manors, convinced one more turn would breach the barrier. Officials raid homes on whispers alone, confiscating stones real or rumoured, but they erode sanity and spark black market rituals that summon darker things. Dementor-like husks feeding on unresolved sorrow. This myth persists because the wizarding world treads a razor-thin line between a ghost, a memory, and a living soul. Ghosts are the easiest to grasp. Nearly headless Nick, moaning through Hogwarts halls, chose to linger after his botched execution in the 15th century. He's no corpse revived, he's an imprint, a magical residue clinging to the castle stones, visible yet untouchable, condemned to watch life unfold without participating. Moaning Myrtle sobs in bathroom stalls, her essence bound by unfinished business. But she can't eat, can't age, can't feel warmth. Contrast that with a pensive memory. Dumbledore's silvery strands of thought replayed in swirling basins. Pure recollection, malleable and shared, but lifeless as a photograph. No spark of will. A living soul, though. That's the wizard's core. Magic pulsing through blood and bone, defying entropy until the final breath. Sirius Black tumbled through the death chamber's veil, a fluttering archway in the Ministry's bowels that hums with otherworldly winds. One way only, they say, no spell recalls him. The stone shades mimic this soul but lack its fire. They'd advise, they console. yet their eyes hold the emptiness of the grave. Cross that line improperly, and you invite abomination in theory. Voldemort's shambling puppets, corpses jerked by necromantic strings, rotting and mindless. The Ministry patrols these borders fiercely, or blurring them unravels the natural order. Delve deeper into the archives, and you find precedents etched in warning. In 1823, a grief-stricken healer in Diagon Alley claimed to have reassembled his wife using phoenix tears and mandrake restoratives. The wizengamot dissected the case over weeks, veritaserum dripping from vials, witnesses swearing the figure that rose was her, until it turned feral, draining life from house elves before crumbling to dust. The healer vanished into Azkaban, his name stricken from rolls. Similar follies scarred the goblin rebellions, where dark wizards animated fallen foes, only to unleash plagues that withered crops for a generation. Gamp's law isn't arbitrary. It's forged from such ashes, reminding every wand wielder that some voids stay empty for a reason. Even the mightiest bend, but never break this barrier. Dumbledore orchestrated his own end on the Astronomy Tower, refusing Snape's plea for a counter-curse, knowing revival was illusion. His portrait in the headmaster's office chats wisely, but it's no resurrection, just enchanted paint capturing quirks of speech. Fawkes the Phoenix flames anew from embers, a rare cycle of renewal, yet no human mirrors that rebirth. Thestrals pull carriages unseen by the unbereaved, their skeletal forms a testament to death's finality, visible only to those who've stared into its eyes. Wizards cope through rituals that honour the line without crossing it. Will-o'-the-wisps light funerals in the Forbidden Forest, guiding spirits to rest. Families commission memory quilts, woven with charmed photographs, faces smiling eternally but silent. The Department of Mysteries guards the veil, its whispers a siren call to the foolish, patrolled by unspeakables who vanish reports of returns. One rogue auror in the 1950s swore he glimpsed a shade through the arch, his partner's hand reaching back before madness claimed him. Such stories fuel the stone's allure, but the Ministry's verdict holds. Dangerous myth, pursued at peril. Feel the weight of this barrier in quieter moments. A widow in Hogsmeade traces her husband's name on a war memorial, stone warm under fidelity charms, but offering no embrace. Children at Hogwarts learn it young, through tales of the Fat Friar's gentle hauntings, understanding ghosts as echoes, not equals. The resurrection barrier preserves magic's balance. Life's spark too precious to counterfeit, death's peace too sacred to plunder. And yet, in the shadows of these unbreakable laws, lurk curses that toy with life's edges in ways resurrection never could, twisting pain and control into weapons that haunted two wars. Coming up next in Chapter 9, The Unforgivables, a history of pain, we'll uncover the dark chronicle of spells so vile they demand life sentences, curses that make even the boldest aurors whisper in dread, while the resurrection stone remains a dangerous myth, forever locked behind the barrier of true death. Wizarding law drew an even sharper line against spells that mock life without ending it. In 1717, amid the shadows of post-war paranoia, the Ministry of Magic issued its most infamous decree, classifying 3 curses as the darkest in existence, utterly unforgivable, punishable by life in Azkaban without parole. These weren't just killing blows or petty hexes. They were weapons that twisted the soul, body, and will into something unrecognizable. Avada Kedavra, the killing curse, struck first in infamy. A flash of green light, silent and swift, snuffs out life instantly, leaving no mark beyond the stare of empty eyes. Wizards had debated its ban for centuries before, tracing it back to ancient dark rituals in the tombs of forgotten Egypt, where priests whispered it to silence rivals. But by 1717, after rogue duelists wielded it in Muggle-viewed skirmishes, the International Confederation stamped it forbidden. Death was final, they argued, clean if cruel. No victim lingered to testify, no healer could reverse the void. Yet even this paled against the others, because killing, for all its horror, honoured a grim finality. Then came Crucio, the Cruciatus curse, And here's where the law's peculiar severity sharpens. Picture a jet of red light coiling like serpents around limbs, forcing every nerve to scream in unison. Bones feel like they're splintering from within. Muscles seize in endless convulsions, and the mind drowns in agony that erases thought, time, even breath. Victims have described it as knives carving inward, or fire blooming in the blood, lasting minutes or hours until the caster relents. Why then does Crucio draw harsher legal scorn than spells that outright slay? Because it doesn't end suffering, it multiplies it. Lethal hexes like Sectum Sempra slice flesh and spill blood, but a skilled healer can mend those wounds, stitching skin and staunching veins before infection sets in. Crucio leaves no such mercy. The pain etches scars into the psyche, triggering phantom throbs years later, shattering sleep with echoes of torment. Courts have ruled it more profane than murder, arguing that to prolong agony without purpose violates the Wizarding Code's core tenet. Magic serves life, not its degradation. Healers testify in trials how victims emerge hollowed, their wands trembling forever after, unfit for society. One infamous case from 1723 involved a petty thief cursed by a vengeful shopkeeper. The man lived, but begged for the kiss from a Dementor to escape the nightly reliving. Ministries worldwide concurred, death frees the soul, but Crucio imprisons it in flesh. Imperio completes the triad, the imperious curse, a silvery haze that slips into the mind like mist through cracked stone. The victim stands puppet-like, eyes glazed, obeying every whim with eerie calm. March into fire, betray kin, or whisper state secrets without a flicker of resistance. No screams, no struggle, just hollow compliance. Caster and controlled merge in a violation deeper than flesh. Wizards who favour Imperio share a chilling psychological profile. One ministry profilers have mapped in exhaustive tomes. They're often narcissists cloaked in charm, craving dominion, not through force but subtle erosion of another's essence. Unlike the rage-fueled Crucio user who lashes out in sadistic bursts, or the cold pragmatist behind Avada Kedavra, Imperious wielders profile as manipulators. Smooth-talking pure-blood supremacists or insecure upstarts seeking godhood by proxy. Studies from St. Mungos reveal they score high on empathy deficits, deriving thrill from the illusion of love in obedience. One archivist noted their journals brim with phrases like, "They thank me in their hearts," revealing a delusion of benevolence. During the First War, captured Death Eaters confessed under truth serum how Imperio fed their god complex, turning families into unwitting spies. The curse's subtlety made it insidious. Victims rarely recalled the theft of their will, waking with vague shame, questioning their own choices. Lawmakers in 1717 deemed it the ultimate perversion. Stripping free will mocked the very spark that defines a witch or wizard. This classification wasn't born in a vacuum. Europe simmered from Muggle witch hunts, spilling into magical vendettas, with dark wizards experimenting on Muggle-borns to test curse potency. The wizengamot, packed with war-weary elders, poured over survivor testimonies in candlelit chambers, the air thick with the scent of scorched parchments and potion fumes. They debated for months, weighing dueling traditions against the rising tide of organised dark arts. By decree's end, any use on a human, friend or foe, meant Azkaban's chill forever, Dementors feasting on joy until madness claimed what sanity remained. Enforcement fell to the Department of Magical Law, with aurors trained to detect the curse's residual auras. Green wisps for death, crimson echoes for pain, silver threads for control. Enforcement proved brutal. In 1742, a Bulgarian dark mage unleashed Imperio on a village elder, forcing him to sabotage a secrecy veil. Captured, the caster's trial lasted days. Witnesses describing the elder's unnatural gait, like a marionette on frayed strings. Azkaban swallowed him whole, yet flexibility crept in during crises. Grindelwald's rise saw quiet waivers for auras, and Voldemort's regime legalized all three, dubbing resistors unforgivable instead. Post-war, the bans snapped back, etched in blood. Even today, whispers persist of underground duels, where these curses flicker briefly, testing ministry vigilance, healers at St. Mungo's maintained specialised wards for the afflicted, soundproof rooms where Crucio survivors rock in silence. Imperio victims relearn choice through painstaking legitimacy. The 1717 decree endures as wizarding law's iron spine, a reminder that some pains cut deeper than graves. You've made it through another layer of these twisted rules with me. Thank you for sticking around. If you're drifting off now, drop a comment with how many nights in a row, and first-timers, just say night. Up next, Chapter 10, The Auror Exception, where we uncover how these unbreakable laws bend for the Ministry's elite enforcers, secrets that could rewrite everything you thought you knew about justice in the wizarding world. Sleep well. While Crucio's lingering agony marked it as the most reviled of the unforgivables, carving a legal line deeper than death itself, that boundary shattered in the fires of war, when the Ministry handed its elite enforcers a key to the darkest spells. Aurors, those shadowy guardians of wizarding order, had long patrolled the fringes of magic's underbelly, but nothing prepared the world for the day they were cleared to wield curses once reserved for monsters. Picture the dim halls of the Ministry of Magic in the shadow of the First Wizarding War, where fear coiled like smoke from a dying flue fire. Death Eaters prowled unchecked, their wands spitting green light into the night, and the auror ranks thinned with every ambush. Frank and Alice Longbottom, legends in their prime, patrolled rain-slicked London streets, their breaths fogging the chill air as they hunted the masked remnants of Grindelwald's echo. But against Imperio's puppet strings or Avada Kedavra's instant void, standard hexes faltered, leaving bodies cold and comrades broken. Then came the pivot, that controversial moment the Ministry legalised the unforgivables for law enforcement. It was 1979, mid-war frenzy, when Minister Eugenia Jenkins, her face gaunt under the weight of endless memorials, pushed through an emergency decree. No fanfare, no wizengamot debate, just a hushed vote in a warded chamber, robes whispering against stone as the measure passed by a razor-thin margin. Aurors could now counter curse with curse, Imperio to break an enemy's thrall, Crucio to extract screams of truth from silent tongues, even Avada Kedavra in the heat of a duel where surrender meant oblivion. The wizarding papers screamed betrayal the next day. Headlines blazed from the Daily Prophet like curses themselves. Heroes or hires to you. Now who? This wasn't mere permission. It was born from the Wartime Powers Act, a sprawling edict that draped the Ministry in wartime veils, suspending peacetime codes for the greater defence. Passed in 1975, amid rising casualties, it granted the Department of Magical Law Enforcement sweeping latitude, indefinite detentions without trial, surveillance charms on suspects' homes, and yes, those forbidden incantations for aurors alone. The Act's ink was barely dry when reports trickled in. A Death Eater cornered in Nocturne Alley, writhing under a sanctioned Crucio until names spilled like blood. Was this justice, or the first slip toward tyranny? The line between hero and villain blurred in those incantations. Aurors staring into the eyes of foes they tortured, wondering if the wand in their hand felt the same as the one that had slain their families. Veteran aurors like Alastor Moody embodied that fracture. His eye, already whirring with paranoia, scanned for the moral rot he feared most in himself. Constant vigilance. He'd growl, but nights after a sanctioned Imperio left him pacing his flat, the victim's hollow gaze haunting his dreams like a Patronus gone sour. The Act empowered them, yes, but at what cost? Colleagues whispered of the taste, that bitter aftershock clinging to the tongue after an unforgivable, a psychic stain no finite incantatem could scrub. And as Voldemort's shadow lengthened, some aurors pushed the envelope. Crucio not just for intel, but retribution, blurring enforcement into vengeance. The war's end in 1981 brought no clean severance. Voldemort vanished, but the scars festered. The lasting trauma on the Auror department after the First Wizarding War rippled through generations. A quiet epidemic of shattered nerves and haunted wands. Post-war audits revealed dozens of cases where auras had crossed into excess, their reports stained with euphemisms like enhanced interrogation. Moody retired into myth, his flask ever present against the shakes. Others drowned in fire whiskey at the leaky cauldron, trading war stories that trailed off into silence. The ministry, scrambling to reclaim legitimacy, revoked the exception by 1982, but the damaged blood lingered. Trust eroded, recruits wary, the department's morale a fragile thing, prone to cracking under pressure. Even as peace tenuously held, whispers persisted. What if war returned? The Second Wizarding War proved them right, with the exception quietly reinstated under Rufus Scrimgeour. Then, twisted under Thickness's imperious puppetry, auras like Kingsley Shacklebolt walked that razor's edge, their spells a desperate bid to hold the line, yet each cast chipped at their souls. The Wartime Powers Act, meant as a shield, became a mirror reflecting the darkness they fought, forcing good witches and wizards to taste villainy just to survive. In the wizarding world's strangest laws, this exception stands as the most human paradox, a rule bent not by malice but necessity, leaving heroes forever questioning their own light. But the fallout from those wartime choices led straight to a prison nightmare that still chills the bones. One will unravel next in Chapter 11, the Azkaban problem. What happens when the Ministry's darkest tools demand an even darker cage? Stay with me as we descend. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Those wartime powers that let auras wield the unforgivables against the darkest threats didn't last forever. Once the battles ended and the Ministry reclaimed control, they were left staring down a grim pile of captured Death Eaters, dark wizards, and curse wielders who had twisted free will into agony or instant death. But here's the chilling truth that haunted their halls. Ordinary prisons wouldn't cut it, not for wizards, whose very essence defied the chains of the non-magical world. You see, the wizarding legal system had long recognised a fatal flaw in relying on Muggle incarceration. Back in 1422, a witch named Lisette de Lapin found herself locked in a Parisian cell after a string of transfiguration crimes that left Muggle authorities baffled. Iron bars reinforced with the heaviest locks of the era, stone walls etched with every containment trick the French constabulary could muster. She was supposed to rot there. Her wand snapped, her magic supposedly bound by anti-sorcery wards, pieced together from confiscated grimoires. But on a fog-shrouded night, with the sane lapping at the prison foundations, Lisette simply vanished. No key turned, no guard betrayed her. The failure wasn't human error. It was the raw clash of magical physics against Muggle design. Stone, forged by non-magical hands, couldn't hold against a wizard's will. Lisette had apparated straight through solid matter, her body folding into the ether in a way that laughed at density and mass. Reports from the time whisper of a faint pop echoing in empty corridors, guards swearing they felt a chill like winter's breath as her cell stood pristine, bed unmade, chains dangling loose. The Muggle officials were left with egg on their faces, chalking it up to divine intervention or ghostly mischief, while the International Confederation of Wizards quietly hushed it up under the Statute of Secrecy. That escape exposed the legal loophole at the heart of wizarding justice. Muggles can't hold magical prisoners, not reliably. Their jails, built on levers and locks and brute force, crumble under spells that bend reality itself. A simple Alohomora unravels any mundane mechanism. Wingardium Leviosa lifts a wizard clean over ramparts. Even without a wand, innate magic simmers in the blood. Accidental bursts of force that warp metal or summon gusts strong enough to shatter glass. The Wizengamot Charter of Rights, etched in the 1700s, formalised this blind spot. It mandates wizard-only facilities for any suspect with a drop of magical heritage, citing irreconcilable incompatibility with non-magical containment protocols. Hand a wizard to Muggle police, and you're not imprisoning them. You're handing them an escape hatch wrapped in red tape. This wasn't just theory born from one rogue witch. History brims with tales of magical fugitives slipping muggle nooses. In the 1500s, a poacher of basilisk eggs melted through iron manacles in a London jail, leaving behind a puddle of slag that baffled blacksmiths for decades. By the 1600s, as witch hunts raged across Europe, the Confederation decreed no more crossovers. The Statute of Secrecy demanded it. Exposing magic mid-escape would unravel centuries of hiding. Wizards in muggle cells became a liability, a spark that could ignite mass panic. Better to keep it in-house, where spells could counter spells, and justice stayed shrouded from prying muggle eyes. So the wizarding world turned to something far more insidious for their deepest dungeons. Azkaban, that storm-lashed fortress adrift in the North Sea, wasn't built on stone and steel alone. Its true wardens are the Dementors, soul-sucking demons that glide on ragged cloaks, their breath a frost that devours joy and hope. Why rely on these horrors for incarceration? Because nothing else works. Dementors don't guard with wands or keys. They feed on the prisoner's very spirit. A wizard behind Azkaban's walls feels their presence like an endless winter seeping into the bones, memories of laughter curdling into despair, happiness leached away until only hollow shells remain. Picture the rationale whispered in ministry boardrooms. Human guards, corruptible, bribable, or overpowered by a well-timed confundus charm. Magical wards, powerful, yes, but they demand constant maintenance, draining auror resources, and clever inmates like Bellatrix Lestrange could unravel them with time and spite. Dementors, though, they're impartial in their cruelty. Native to the Isle's foggiest corners, these entities were conscripted in the early 1800s after a breeding ban failed to contain their numbers. The ministry struck a pact: free reign to patrol the seas in exchange for eternal service at Azkaban. No escapee has ever outrun their kiss, that final slurping void that sucks the soul clean, leaving a breathing corpse to moulder. But it's not just brute efficiency. Legally, Dementors plug the loophole perfectly. They operate beyond Muggle physics. No bars to apparate through, no doors to blast. Their aura suppresses magic at its root, turning spells to feeble sparks. Even the Unforgivables falter in their chill. Imperio withers against a mind already stripped bare. The wizengamot justifies it under the Preservation of Secrecy clause. Better a soulless husk than a fugitive exposing the hidden world. Critics in the Daily Prophet called it barbaric, arguing that soul destruction rivals Avada Kedavra in finality, but post-war trials saw no alternative. Sirius Black's supposed breach in 83 only reinforced it. Even framed, he endured years under their shroud before vanishing like mist. Delve deeper, and Azkaban's reliance on Dementors reveals fractures in wizarding morality. Founded in the 700s by the warlock Echrisdis as a personal bolt hole, it evolved into the official prison by the 1500s. But Dementors only took over when escape spiked. Lizette's Parisian fiasco was the tipping point continent-wide. French wizards petitioned for their own demon-guarded isle, but Britain, with its treacherous waters, claimed primacy. The pact endures because alternatives crumble. Experimental spells like the Fidelius charm for prisons, too unstable, as the Crouch family learned when Barty Jr. slipped free. Golem sentinels, costly and vulnerable to transfiguration. Even the food laws tie in. Gamp's restrictions mean no conjuring sustenance from thin air, so Azkaban ships meagre rations weekly, forcing inmates to confront their hollowed states without distraction. The improper use of magic office logs the fallout. Fines for lesser breaches, but Azkaban for the Unforgivables, where Dementors ensure compliance without a single wand raised. It's a system forged in necessity, haunted by the ghosts of failed Muggle holds like Lizette's, where physics bowed to magic's whim. Yet as unbreakable as it seems, whispers persist of cracks. Patronuses repel Dementors, hinting at vulnerability. And what of reformed souls? The ministry debates rehabilitation, but soul suckers leave no room for mercy. This legal labyrinth born from that ancient loophole, keeps the wizarding world insulated, but at what cost to its own humanity? Speaking of everyday wizards tangling with the law in ways that defy sense, just wait until you hear about Arthur Weasley and the flying car in the next chapter. How one enchanted Muggle artifact turned a ministry man into public enemy number one, and the mishaps that nearly exposed everything. You won't believe the chaos that unfolded, while Muggle prisons crumble under the weight of a wizard's simplest spell, as we saw with that daring escape from a Parisian cell centuries ago. The Ministry turns its stern gaze toward protecting those very Muggles from the temptations of our world. Enter Arthur Weasley, the unassuming head of the Misuse of Muggle Artifacts office, a man whose heart beats to the rhythm of enchanted toasters and self-plugging plugs. Picture him in his cluttered shed at the Burrow, surrounded by the hum of Muggle contraptions he's lovingly disassembled, his eyes lighting up at the sheer ingenuity of a rubber duck that quacks without magic. Arthur isn't just fascinated by Muggles, he reveres them, collecting their everyday marvels like treasures from another realm. But reverence has its risks, especially when it leads to something as audacious as turning a humble Ford Anglia into a flying chariot. It started innocently enough, or so Arthur thought, during those tense days before Harry's second year at Hogwarts. With the barrier to platform 9 3/4 sealed shut by Dobby's meddling, Ron Weasley faced a crisis. No way to get his trunk and his best friend to school. Desperation sparked ingenuity. Arthur's enchanted car, tucked away in the orchard, became their salvation. Or so they hoped. That turquoise beast roared to life under moonlight, wings unfurling like a phoenix's, carrying the boys through clouds and past the dragonish silhouette of the school's towers. For a fleeting moment, pure magic met Muggle engineering in defiant harmony. The fallout, though, was swift and stinging. The Ministry swooped in, their owls delivering a verdict that would make any wizard chuckle in disbelief. Arthur Weasley, the very guardian against such mischief, slapped with a 50 galleon fine for bewitching a Muggle car. 50 galleons. For a man who could barely keep his family in butterbeer, it was a humiliating pinch. But more than that, it laid bare the sheer absurdity of the so-called Muggle protection laws. Here was the head of the office, meant to shield Muggles from dangerous enchantments, penalised for his own curiosity-driven tinkering. The car hadn't harmed a soul. It had saved Harry from sleeping rough on a station bench, yet the law saw only violation, a blatant overreach that treated a father's ingenuity like a dark art. Delve deeper into those laws, and you uncover the misuse of Muggle Artifacts Office's ironclad definition of enchantment. It's not mere admiration or replication. Enchantment occurs the instant a wizard infuses a Muggle-made object with magical properties that alter its fundamental function. A spell to make a car fly, that's enchantment, transforming a vehicle bound by petrol and physics into something that defies gravity and the Statute of Secrecy. Arthur's Ford wasn't just modified, it was reborn, programmed to respond to wing growth charms and invisibility boosters, turning a symbol of Muggle progress into a potential beacon of exposure. The office catalogues these offences meticulously: teapots that spout prophecies, bicycles that pedal themselves uphill, even hoovers that suck up more than dust. Each case a reminder that Muggle artifacts, pure in their non-magical state, become hazardous when kissed by a wand. Yet, peel back the official parchment, and the hypocrisy glares like a lumos in the dark. The Ministry preaches Muggle protection while festooning their own world with borrowed wonders. Flying cars are outlawed for wizards, tampering with Muggle ones. But enchanted broomsticks slice the skies legally. Muggle-repelling charms guard Diagon Alley, and the Ministry entrances themselves subtle spells that make non-magicals veer away without a second thought. Yet Arthur's private project draws a fine. Wizards flood Hogsmeade with devices mimicking Muggle radios that tune to wizarding waves, and the Minister's own fleet includes carriages that glide on anti-gravity runes. Arthur's crime: loving Muggle tech too openly, too passionately, while the elite hoard its essence under sanitized spells. It's a double standard etched in galleons. Fascination is fine in theory, forbidden in practice, especially if you're a red-haired enthusiast with 7 children to feed. Arthur took the hit with its trademark grin, paying the fine from his meagre ministry salary and muttering about the fascinating circuitry that made it all possible. But the incident rippled outward, fueling whispers in the corridors of power. How could the man enforcing these rules embody such blatant disregard? His office, buried in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, buzzes with confiscated contraband. Charmed Walkmans that play the WWN eternally. Televisions flickering with ghostly images of Quidditch reruns. Each artifact a testament to the thin line wizard's walk, drawn by Muggle innovation, yet shackled by secrecy. Arthur's defense, if he ever voiced it, would echo the quiet rebellion in his shed. Why fear what we can learn from? The fine didn't deter him. It humanized him, exposing the ministry's laws as brittle shields against a world they secretly envy. This clash of worlds underscores the statute's unyielding grip. Born from the ashes of witch hunts, and now policing the whims of tinkerers like Arthur, fines escalate for repeat offences. But for heads of departments, it's a warning wrapped in embarrassment. Ron's joyride drew no further punishment, chalked up to underage folly under the trace. But the car's eventual crash into the Hooping Willow sealed its fate as ministry property. Stripped of spells and grounded forever, Arthur emerged wiser, his passion undimmed, proving that some laws bend under the weight of a good heart. And speaking of hearts entangled in the strangest legal tangles, wait until you hear about the goat scandal of Aberforth Dumbledore, a tale of inappropriate charms that nearly toppled a family legend. Arthur Weasley's 50 galleon fine for enchanting that Muggle car exposed the rigid grip of the misuse of Muggle artifacts office. But the wizarding courts have presided over far stranger spectacles. Cases that twist the boundaries of law into something almost surreal. Take Aberforth Dumbledore, the reclusive barman of the Hog's Head in Hogsmeade, brother to Albus himself, who found himself dragged before the Wizengamot in a trial that still whispers through the shadowy corners of Diagon Alley. Picture the dim, smoke-hazed courtroom deep within the ministry, where ancient stone walls seem to lean in, absorbing every murmur. Aberforth stands there, his wild beard unkempt, eyes fierce under those heavy brows, accused of using inappropriate charms on a goat. Not just any goat, mind you, but one he'd reportedly enchanted in ways that crossed every unspoken line of decency and decorum. The charges were filed under an obscure clause in the Wizarding Code, buried in the regulations governing experimental breeding and magical creature interactions. Provision so nebulous it reads like a riddle from a forgotten grimoire. The heart of this mess lies in deconstructing the most bizarre legal case in wizarding history, a prosecution that hinged on whispers and scandal rather than solid evidence. Witnesses from Hogsmeade spoke in hushed tones of seeing Aberforth in the back alleys behind his pub, the air shimmering with silvery threads of magic as the goat bleated in unnatural rhythms. Rumours swirled. Was he attempting to grant the creature speech, bridging the gap between beast and wizard in some mad bid for understanding? Or darker tales suggested charms of a more intimate nature, twisting animal instinct into something profane, the kind of magic that makes even the boldest auror avert their eyes? The ministry never clarified, of course, letting the ambiguity fester like an untreated curse. This brings us straight to the inappropriate charms clause and its vague, confusing enforcement. A legal ghost that haunts the edges of beast-handling statutes, drafted in the wake of the Warlocks Convention of 1709, when fears of uncontrolled magical experimentation ran high after dragon-breeding bans. The clause prohibits any enchantment on animals that could alter their natural purpose or dignity. But what does that even mean? Natural purpose for a goat is grazing and butting heads. Yet Aberforth's defence argued he was merely probing the limits of communication spells, akin to those used on owls or thestrals. the wizengamot dismissed it outright, fining him 200 galleons and slapping a lifetime ban on certain transfiguration charms, all without defining the line between curiosity and corruption. You can almost hear the scratch of quills on parchment as the judges conferred, their faces stern masks hiding smirks, knowing full well the power of an undefined law. Enforcement fell to the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures, but with no precise metrics, no spell residue tests for inappropriateness. It became a tool wielded by whim. Aberforth emerged scarred not by Azkaban's chill, but by the endless jests in the leaky cauldron, where patrons still mimic goat bleats when his name arises. He never spoke publicly of it again, retreating deeper into his pub's gloom, serving butterbeer to the wizarding world's outcasts. And here's where the true cunning reveals itself. How public embarrassment is used as a tool for social control in the wizarding world. Trials like Aberforth's don't just punish, they parade. The Daily Prophet splashed the story across front pages with headlines dripping innuendo. Dumbledore's brother in goatly affray, turning a private experiment into communal shame. No need for dementors when ridicule chains you tighter than iron. It's a pattern woven through wizarding justice, from underage magic warnings sent to parents in front of entire schools to the wizengamot's public benches, where families watch loved ones squirm under scrutiny. Aberforth's case amplified it, a cautionary tale whispered to apprentices. Stray too far from the norm, and the ministry won't just fine you. They'll make you the punchline for generations. Delve deeper into the hog's head that night after the verdict, the fire crackling low, casting long shadows over scarred wooden tables. Aberforth polishes a tankard, muttering to himself about ministry hypocrisy, while a few loyal patrons nod knowingly. Goats wander the hills outside Hogsmeade even now, oblivious to the laws etched in their fates. But wizards remember, Albus, ever the protector, pulled strings quietly to keep his brother from worse. Yet the stain lingered, a reminder that in a world of hidden magic, the most potent spells are those cast by gossip and glare. This scandal echoes through the veins of wizarding regulation, where vagueness breeds fear, and fear keeps the statute of secrecy intact. Aberforth carried on, his pub a haven for those dodging the ministry's gaze. But the goat affair lingers as a monument to legal absurdity, a case where the crime was as much perception as practice. Thanks to those of you who've been joining us night after night. Drop in the comments how many evenings in a row that's been for you. First timers, just say night. Up next, Chapter 14, The Age Line and the Goblet, where a simple chalk circle thwarts the cleverest aging potions and forces us to question if magic can ever truly fool time itself. You won't want to miss how it unravels the Triwizard Tournament's darkest secrets. While Aberforth Dumbledore's goat charms lingered in legal grey areas for decades, the Ministry drew an unbreakable line when it came to youth and magic, especially around something as ancient and impartial as the Goblet of Fire. Picture the Great Hall at Hogwarts that crisp autumn evening in 1994. Flickering torchlight casting long shadows across 4 massive flagstone pedestals, each holding a cup brimming with enchanted flames that danced from ruby red to searing blue. At the forefront stood the goblet itself, a roughly hewn chunk of blue-white marble carved with ancient runes, its wood cup aglow, selecting champions for the Triwizard Tournament. But before any names could emerge, Headmaster Dumbledore himself conjured the age line, a shimmering golden barrier that hummed with raw power, declaring no one under 17 could cross. Fred and George Weasley, those irrepressible twins with their freckled faces and devilish grins, weren't about to let a little line stop them. They'd brewed up an aging potion in the depths of their dormitory, a murky elixir promising to tack a year onto their true 16-year-old selves. Giggling under their breath, they downed it in unison, felt the familiar tingle of transformation magic ripple through their veins. Hair sprouting longer, chins sprouting wispy beards, voices dropping an octave. Confident as ever, they linked arms and leaped over the line, landing with a triumphant whoop. For one heartbeat, it seemed they'd outfoxed the system. Then the goblet spat out twin jets of flame, coiling around them like fiery serpents, hurling them backward in a shower of sparks and singed beards. Their beards burst into flame. The potion's illusion shattered, leaving them sprawled on the floor amid laughter from the hall. Magic couldn't trick time. The age line, woven from the deepest laws of enchantment, peered straight into the soul's true chronology, immune to superficial spells or brews that merely mimicked maturity. That failure wasn't just a prank gone wrong. It exposed the ironclad nature of wizarding magic's temporal safeguards. You see, age in the magical world isn't a number on a birth certificate. It's etched into your magical core, a fundamental thread in the fabric of your being that no transfiguration or potion can unravel. Dumbledore explained it plainly afterward. The line detected not just spells, but the very essence of youth. This principle echoes back through centuries of wizarding lore, from the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery in 1875, which snaps the trace on young wands until 17, to the goblet's ancient protocols. Why? Because unchecked youthful magic has toppled villages and breached the International Statute of Secrecy time and again. A 12-year-old's accidental fiend fire could expose the hidden world faster than any Death Eater's rampage. But the real wizardry unfolded when the goblet's flames spat out Harry Potter's name. A 14-year-old boy whose parchment fluttered into the flames despite the barrier. The hall fell silent as the headmaster extracted it, his voice grave. A binding magical contract had been forged. Once your name enters that cup and it selects you, you're locked in. No appeals, no withdrawals, no excuses. This is where the wizarding legal system reveals its most peculiar ruthlessness. Magical contracts hold supreme authority even over minors. Unlike Muggle law, where a child's signature means nothing without guardians, wizarding oaths pulse with inherent magic. They burrow into your magical aura, enforcing compliance through curses woven into the agreement itself. Violate it and your own power turns against you. Wands rebel, spells fizzle, or worse. Your life force drains until the terms are met. Consider the Triwizard tasks ahead. Dragons breathing liquid fire, merpeople lurking in inky lake depths, a labyrinth alive with riddles and teeth. Harry, barely old enough to apparate, was thrust into mortal peril by this contract, his protest drowned out by the goblet's impartial blaze. Why legally binding even for minors? Because magic doesn't recognize infancy as an excuse. It views all wizards as equal under enchantment from the moment their core ignites. The wizengamot upholds this in trials, where underage oathbreakers face the same dementors as adults. It's a system born from goblin treaties and ancient pacts, where words spoken over witnesses or artifacts, like the goblet, become self-policing chains, far stronger than any ministry decree. This binding magical contract edges perilously close to involuntary servitude, a grim undercurrent in wizarding jurisprudence. Once sealed, you're enslaved to its demands, your freedom bartered for glory or survival. Harry trained through sleepless nights, his scar throbbing under the pressure, while the tournament's gold prize dangled like a cruel jest. Champions from Bogsbattens and Durmstrang, sleek and seasoned, eyed him with pity or scorn, but the contract cared for none of it. It demanded 3 tasks, each escalating in horror, and Harry delivered, summoning his firebolt through a stormy sky, breathing underwater for an hour amid Grindylows' grasping claws, navigating a maze where the Triwizard Cup hid as a portkey to doom. Refusal wasn't an option. The magic would have consumed him, body and soul, binding him tighter than Azkaban's chains. Delve deeper, and you'll find precedents etched in dusty ministry vaults. The goblet, forged in the Middle Ages for the first tournament, draws from elder rituals, where chieftains pledge lives to gods via flame oaths. Modern law codified it under the Warlocks Convention of 1709, ensuring no trickery, like Fred and George's folly, could undermine it. Even Voldemort, master of loopholes, respected such contracts during his reign, for they outstripped Imperius in enforceability. Imagine the chill. A 14-year-old, wand trembling, facing a Hungarian horntail's molten roar, all because a scrap of parchment dipped in fire overrode every safeguard of youth. The ministry's hands were tied too. Crouch Sr. thundered in the hall that interference was impossible, his face ashen under the weight of tradition. Barty Crouch Jr., disguised as Moody, had rigged the goblet with a confundus charm to bypass the age line for Harry, proving even dark arts bowed to the contract's finality once invoked. It's this unyielding logic that makes wizarding lore both wondrous and terrifying. Magic as judge, jury, and executioner. As the tournament shadows lengthen, whispers emerge of poachers in distant seas, facing forbidden creatures that could unravel secrecy on a global scale. Up next, the chilling tale of the Remora and the Indian Ocean will pull you deeper into the wizarding world's hidden enforcers. Magic might bend to contracts that no potion or spell can evade, but out in the vast churning expanse of the Indian Ocean, there's a creature whose protection eclipses even the sting of a hexed jewel. The Remora, a sleek silver-scaled fish with an unyielding grip, latches onto the hulls of ships and brings them to a dead halt, no matter the wind or waves. Wizards have long whispered that these elusive swimmers guard secrets deeper than the abyss, and poaching just one carries a penalty harsher than some common assaults. Up to a year in Azkaban and a 500 galleon fine, while a mere bar brawl with wands might earn you only a caution and community service. Picture the humid salt air thick with monsoon spray, as illicit fishermen in enchanted coracles slice through midnight currents, their lures glowing faintly with lumos charms. The Remora isn't just any catch. Its flesh, when harvested, yields a rare ichor that stabilizes potion brews against muggle detection spells. But harvest too many, and the ocean's balance tips. Schools vanish, ships start beaching inexplicably on wizarding trade routes, drawing muggle navies and their spotlights too close to hidden portals beneath the waves. That's why the Ministry's Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures slapped such a draconian ban in 1892. Right after a poacher's haul sparked a chain of ghost ship sightings that nearly breached the Statute of Secrecy. These aren't arbitrary rules scribbled in dusty tomes. They're the environmental protection laws, woven into the wizarding world's survival. Layered atop the International Statute of Secrecy, they mandate that magical ecosystems remain veiled, with buffer zones around creature habitats enforced by undetectable concealment charms. Tamper with the Remora's domain, and you risk unraveling the whole tapestry. Mer-people alliances fracture. Hippogriff migration paths shift, exposing feathers that shimmer unnaturally in torchlight. The wizengamot ruled in the case of notorious smuggler Elias Blackfin that such poaching threatens the delicate veil of natural anomaly, prioritizing ecosystem integrity over personal scuffles, because one exposed fish could summon international headlines, while a wizard's bruised ego heals with a pepper-up potion. Enforcement feels relentless out there, with auror patrols cloaked in bubblehead charms, scanning for unauthorized nets woven from acromantula silk. Blackfin himself, caught with a dozen Remoras in his hold, begged for leniency, claiming his assault on a rival captain was just business. But the judges were unmoved. The fisher's penalty stuck, landing him in a saltwater cell where the waves mocked his regrets. You can almost hear the creak of enchanted hulls straining against invisible anchors, the poacher's lantern flickering as a Remora's eye gleams from the depths, a silent enforcer of laws older than Hogwarts itself. Yet, for all the Remora's allure, the real shadow trade pulsed beneath these waters. Illegal magical plants smuggled from equatorial atolls, their pods pulsing with bioluminescent sap that brews invisibility elixirs undetectable by standard scans. Vendors in Diagon Alley's back, alleys hawk shriveled devil's snare seeds or blooming fluxweed variants, promising fortunes for the right buyer. Importing them, a straight 1,000 galleon fine per specimen, slapped down by the same laws shielding the seas. But the underground thrives. Courier owls stuffed with vacuum-sealed rhizomes dodge flu network checks, and buyers risk it for the edge in potion making, where a single illicit bloom can multiply a cauldron's yield tenfold. Dealers whisper of hidden coves where Tamil wizards barter with Vila traders, the air heavy with the sweet rot of forbidden mandrakes that scream only for the attuned ear. One bust in 1927 netted a ring moving moondew orchids, each fined at 1,000 galleons. Yet the mastermind vanished into a whirlpool portal, leaving underlings to face the wizengamot's gavel. These plants don't just enhance brews, they anchor the magical food chain, pollinated by pixies that flit unseen over muggle shipping lanes. Disrupt that, and pollen clouds could spark fairy ring panics on beaches, unraveling the secrecy these laws so fiercely guard. The trade's persistence underscores the tension. Fines deter the small fry, but the bold see 1,000 galleons as tuition for underworld mastery, laundering profits through Gringotts proxies disguised as spice shipments. Imagine the damp hold of a flukka, freights humming with contained magic, as a smuggler evades merpeople sentinels with a whispered bubble-up charm. It's a gamble where the ocean itself conspires, currents laced with remora essence that snag the unwary, ensuring the ecosystem's hidden pulse endures. Thank you to those who've been drifting off with us night after night. Drop in the comments how many evenings in a row now, and if tonight's your first, just say nighty. These protections extend far beyond fins and foliage, straight into the hands of the wizards who police every errant spark. Up next in Chapter 16, the improper use of magic office, we'll uncover how this shadowy bureau turns everyday slip-ups into scandals that could silence a wand forever. What mundane mishap once nearly toppled a minister to stay lulled, while poaching a remora from the Indian Ocean depths might cost you more than some outright assaults, just to shield the wizarding world's fragile ecosystems from prying muggle eyes. The real grind happens far from those exotic seas, right in the bowels of the ministry. Every slip-up, every unintended flash of magic, caught by a non-magical witness, funnels straight into the improper use of magic office, the beating heart of secrecy enforcement. Buried under mountains of parchment that never seem to shrink, picture the dim, flickering light of flu-powered lanterns, casting long shadows across endless rows of cramped cubicles where the air hangs thick with the musty scent of old ink and scorched owl feathers. This is the most overworked department in the ministry, a relentless churn of reports arriving by the dozen every hour. Everything from a child's wandless spark in a playground to a lovesick wizard's levitation charm, gone public during a heated row. Wizards and witches here, bleary-eyed and quill-calloused, sift through it all from dawn till the wee hours, their robes dusted with flu powder from constant apparitions to investigation sites. One clerk might be cross-referencing a muggle newspaper clipping about freak lightning in Dorset, while her neighbour defices a garbled eyewitness account from a fisherman who swears he saw a tentacled beast vanish into thin air. Likely just a smuggler's poorly concealed Grindylow. A typical day kicks off at the crack of 7, when the first wave of interdepartmental memos snowballs in, blotting out the weak winter sun filtering through grimy high windows. By 8, the head of the office, a stern witch named Perkins with hair, perpetually singed from proximity to exploding snap cards left by stressed juniors, is already barking orders. Trace alerts from the underage squad sort the potentials from the wand wavers. Junior obliviators dash about, polishing their memory charms while poring over witness statements. Lunch is a forgotten luxury. Instead, it's cold pumpkin pasties scarfed amid heated debates over intent. Afternoon brings the deluge. Apparition mishaps in muggle-heavy zones, enchanted teapots, whistling poltergeist tunes in suburban kitchens, even the occasional house elf popping into a Tesco for socks and causing a shelf to avalanche. By evening, the floor vibrates with the scratch of self-inking quills as fines are tallied. 50 galleons for bewitching a muggle car, like Arthur Weasley once learned the hard way, or steeper for repeat offenders. But not every case is black and white broomstick justice. The real art lies in teasing apart accidental magic from intentional malice, a distinction that can make or shatter a wizard's life. Accidental bursts, those raw surges from untrained or emotional witches and wizards, get leniency because they're unpredictable. Like the famous case of young Tom Riddle making a rabbit's teeth grow wildly in a Muggle orphanage out of sheer spiteful fear. The office logs these as uncontrolled emanations, often tied to the trace on under-17s, where magic flares without a wand's focus. Think a toddler levitating toys in fury, or a teen summoning fireworks during exam stress. Investigators probe for motive. Was there forethought, a whispered incantation, or just raw emotion spilling over? Intentional malice, though, that's the dark vein. Deliberate spells cast to harm or expose, like Imperio on a Muggle for kicks, earning Azkaban whispers. They differentiate through residue analysis. Luminous residue on a wand versus ambient magical echoes at the scene. Witness polyjuice interrogations under Veritasium light drafts. Even Pensieve dives into memories if the wizengamot greenlights it. One wrong call, and a grieving parent's grief-struck hex becomes a felony. Then there's the paperwork nightmare that turns a single Muggle sighting into a bureaucratic marathon, stretching weeks and testing even the most patient elf. Say a jogger in Surrey glimpses a witch disapparating mid-stride, her cloak billowing like a vanishing ghost. The alert hits the office instantly via owl post relay from patrolling aurors. Form 17B initiates. Witness demographics. Exact coordinates via enchanted theodolite readings. Atmospheric conditions to rule out natural phenomena. Next, Obliviator dispatch. Team of 3 for verification. Memory charm calibrated to the Muggle's exposure level, followed by Form 29C for post-erasure behavioural monitoring. Environmental scans ensure no lingering portkey trace or transfiguration fallout. Logging into the Statute of Secrecy violation matrix. If the Muggle babbles to family, that's cascading forms. Familial exposure addendums. Muggle relations cross-checks for media ripples. Arthur Weasley's enchanted Ford Anglia joyride. That spawned over 200 pages. Vehicle seizure logs. Muggle witness trees. Even a sidebar on flying carpet precedents from the 1700s. One citing balloons into audits, with clerks cross-stitching affidavits till their fingers cramp, all to bury the breach deeper than a Niffler's hoard. This endless paper tide stems straight from the International Statute of Secrecy, forged in 1692 amid witch hunt flames, demanding zero tolerance for exposures that could unravel the hidden world. The office enforces it with a web of sub-laws. Underage decrees from 1875, where a second offence means wand snaps and Hogwarts exile. Bans on flashy spells in public, even if you're just transfiguring your tea to stay hot. Peculiar cases pile up too. Aberforth Dumbledore's goat charms dissected for inappropriate intent, or dragon breeders dodging 1709 conventions. Fines stack like Gringotts vaults. But malice escalates to trials, where the line between slip and scheme blurs under scrutiny. Yet for all this frenzy, the improper use of magic office keeps the veil intact, one erased memory at a time, shielding ecosystems from poachers and muggles alike. As we peel back these layers of enforcement, you'll soon see how cases escalate to the grand stage of judgment. Up next in Chapter 17, the Wizengamot, Justice or Theatre. Is their crimson-robed spectacle true reckoning, or just smoke and mirrors for the masses? While the improper use of magic office sifts through the daily chaos of sparks gone wrong, and spells misfired by accident, separating the clumsy flicks from true malice, the real weight of wizarding justice falls on something far grander, far more shadowed. The Wizengamot, this ancient assembly, cloaked in crimson robes, and echoing with the murmurs of centuries, holds the power to shatter lives with a single vote. Picture the chamber deep within the ministry, its walls lined with flickering torches that cast long shadows over rows of stern faces, the air thick with the scent of aged parchment and unspoken grudges. Here, accusations don't just linger, they demand reckoning. The wizengamot traces its roots back through the fog of wizarding history, evolving from informal gatherings of elders in the wake of the International Statute of Secrecy. By the time the Warlocks Convention solidified secrecy in 1709, it had formalised into the Supreme Court of Magical Britain, a body where the elite convened to judge their own. But is it justice or a grand performance, scripted by those who pull the strings? Trials unfold not in sterile courtrooms, but in this vaulted hall, where the accused stands alone before hundreds, their fate hanging on whispers and wands. At the core of this system lies the Wizengamot Charter of Rights, a document etched in the 1800s, promising every accused witch or wizard a semblance of fairness. It guarantees the right to call witnesses, to summon house elves or old rivals to testify under veritaserum if need be, and to have a representative speak in your defence, someone to stand as your voice when silencing charms threaten to bind your tongue. On paper, it echoes Muggle ideals of due process. No punishment without proof, no snap judgments in the heat of scandal. Yet peel back the vellum and cracks appear. Witnesses can be intimidated before they even apparate in, their memories tampered with by skilled obliviators. Representation. Often it's a lone advocate against a sea of prosecutors, armed with ministry dossiers thicker than a basilisk's hide. This charter pledges a fair trial, but fairness in the wizarding world bends under the weight of secrecy and survival. Consider the high-profile cases where the stakes involve unforgivable curses or breaches could unravel the statute itself. The right to a fair trial sounds noble, but in practice it's throttled by expediency. Accused Death Eaters during the wars faced abbreviated hearings, their pleas drowned out by the clamour for Azkaban. Even in peacetime, the Charter's protections falter when the Ministry deems a threat imminent. Trials suspended, one snapped on the spot. It's a right that's more mirage than shield, shimmering under torchlight but dissolving when power presses down. And then there's the Minister for Magic, that towering figure at the apex, often striding into the Wizengamot chamber, not just as overseer, but as the blade itself. Why does the minister frequently act as both prosecutor and judge? Tradition, they say, rooted in the need for swift unity against Muggle persecution post-Salem. The role evolved from the chief warlock, a position the minister assumes or appoints a proxy to, blending executive might with judicial hammer. Cornelius Fudge, for instance, didn't just preside over Buckbeak's trial. He orchestrated the charges, whispering to the committee, stacking the deck with his own fears of werewolves and hippogriffs. Rufus Scrimgeour followed suit, prosecuting suspected sympathisers, while thundering verdicts from the bench. It's a conflict as old as the chamber's stones. The same hand that drafts the accusation seals the sentence, turning justice into a solo act. This dual role thrives because the Wizengamot isn't built for separation of powers like Muggle parliaments. The minister embodies the ministry's will, prosecutor by virtue of office, judge by acclaim of the assembly, dissenter's whisper of bias. Fudge's vendetta against Dumbledore or thickness under Imperius, puppeteering the whole affair. Yet reform stalls. Any push for independence risks exposing secrets, inviting Muggle scrutiny. The minister's voice booms unchallenged, witnesses cowed, the charter's fairness a polite fiction. Compounding this is the stark absence of a jury system, especially in those high-profile magical criminal cases that grip the Daily Prophet's front pages. No 12 impartial peers drawn from the wizarding populace, no random selection to dilute elite influence. Instead, the Wizengamot itself serves as judge and jury, a rotating cadre of mostly pure-blood lifers, their loyalties tangled in family feuds and ministry favours. In lesser cases, smaller committees mimic juries, but when basilisks slither into the headlines or curses fly in Diagon Alley, it's the full Wizengamot, 100 strong, voting en masse. Igor Karkaroff escaped their grasp by spilling names, but lesser souls like Hagrid faced the full brunt. No jury to humanise the horror, just robed figures swayed by the minister's gavel. Without a jury, trials become theatre, dramatic flourishes, Veritaserum vials glinting under lights, the accused's Veritaserum-induced confessions echoing like thunder. Barty Crouch Sr. sent his own son to Azkaban San Jury, his prosecutorial fury unchecked. The lack stems from secrecy. Juries could leak, muggles could overhear, but it leaves justice vulnerable to whims. A single influential vote sways the tide. Pure blood prejudices linger, half-bloods scrutinized harder. Imagine standing there, the chamber's chill seeping into your bones, knowing your peers aren't random farmers or shopkeepers, but the very wizards who dine with your accusers. This fusion of roles and juryless proceedings has birthed infamous miscarriages. Sirius Black's trial, skipped entirely, minister's decree sending him straight to Dementors. The Charter's rights, ignored in the panic. Even Dolores Umbridge, twisting the system for her educational decrees, faced a wizengamot stacked against her. Only when Percy Weasley's memos turned the tide. It's justice as spectacle, where the minister's shadow looms largest. The assembly a chorus affirming the lead's tune. Yet whispers of change persist in the ministry corridors. Reformers eyeing the charter for amendments. A true jury pool, perhaps drawn from registered wand users, or barring the minister from the bench. But with secrecy's grip tightening post-wars, such dreams fade like a Patronus in despair. The wizengamot endures, a relic questioning its own legitimacy. Speaking of relics turned deadly, next in Chapter 18, the basilisk ban. We'll unravel why creating one of these gaze of death serpents draws the ministry's darkest wrath, and how one slipped through to terrorize a school. What ancient curse fueled the prohibition? And why does it eclipse even unforgivable penalties? Stay drifting with us. Even with the wizengamot's charter promising a fair trial, some wizarding crimes are so profoundly forbidden that they rarely see the light of a courtroom. Cases handled in shadows, with whispers of ancient decrees that bind tighter than any chain. Picture the flickering torchlight of a ministry archive. Dust motes dancing as a clerk uncovers a yellowed parchment from the 1800s, its ink still sharp with the fury of lawmakers who dared to criminalize the very act of tampering with nature's magical boundaries. That decree, passed in the mid-18th century amid a wave of reckless innovation, declared experimental breeding a high crime punishable by life in Azkaban without appeal. Wizards back then, flush with the arrogance of discovery, had begun crossing species in hidden laboratories. Spider with serpent, owl with eel, chasing beasts of unparalleled power. But when a French alchemist's hybrid worm escaped and petrified an entire village square before aurors could intervene, the International Confederation acted swiftly. No more mad science in the breeding pens. What they called experimental breeding became synonymous with catastrophe, a felony that branded the perpetrator worse than a murderer. Fines were mere slaps on the wrist compared to the wand confiscation, memory charms on accomplices, and isolation spells that left the offender adrift in their own mind. Yet among all those forbidden fusions, one creature towers above the rest in infamy, the basilisk. Creating a basilisk isn't just illegal, it's the ultimate legal taboo, a sin against the Statute of Secrecy, so grave it could unravel the hidden world entire. Born from a chicken egg hatched by a toad under a full moon, this serpent king doesn't merely kill. Its gaze turns flesh to stone. Its venom dissolves metal like parchment in flame. Imagine the horror. A single glance from those yellow eyes, and a muggle family freezes mid-breath. Statues in their own garden, discovered years later by oblivious landscapers. The law sees it as the pinnacle of hubris, because basilisks embody everything wizards fear. Uncontrollable lethality, paired with a lifespan stretching 900 years or more. Salazar Slytherin himself unleashed one beneath Hogwarts. Its presence a secret festering for 1,000 years, nearly exposing magic when Tom Riddle summoned it in the 20th century. To breed such a monster invites not just personal ruin, but a cascade of exposures. Trials spiraling into international incidents that could shatter the fragile veil of 1722. Enforcing this ban proves a nightmare, woven into the fabric of wizarding justice, especially against beasts that outlive generations of lawmakers. A basilisk doesn't age into compliance. It slithers through centuries, burrowing into forgotten pipes or mountain caverns, its kills chalked up to hauntings or rock slides by Muggle authorities. Aurors track them with basilisk lure potions that mimic rooster crows, their sole natural predator, but success rates hover dismally low. One record from 1847 details a hunt in the Scottish Highlands. 3 elite squads vanished, petrified into a macabre gallery, their stone forms shattered only after a century by a cave-in. The Ministry resorts to scrying spells and international beast bounties. Yet perpetrators often die before capture, their creations inheriting the crime like a dark legacy. How do you prosecute a snake that remembers the reign of kings? Memory extraction fails on reptilian minds, and without a confession, evidence relies on fang marks or shed scales, traces that fade like whispers over decades. This tension simmered through the 19th century, when rogue breeders in Eastern Europe peddled basilisk eggs, disguised as exotic pets, only for buyers to wake to yellow-eyed hatchlings devouring their households. The Confederation responded with the Basilisk Eradication Act of 1892, mandating annual sweeps of high-risk zones, but enforcement lagged. In Albania, a basilisk terrorized shepherds for 70 years before Dumbledore cornered it in 1945, its final hiss echoing the failures of laws too slow for immortal threats. Even today, whispers persist of undiscovered nests in the Carpathians, where the air grows cold and statues weep real tears, reminders that some taboos endure because mortals can't outpace eternity. The band's architects knew this frailty. They layered it with preemptive curses on hatching sites, spells that alert the Department of Magical Creatures to any anomalous egg. Violators face not just Azkaban, but a lifetime animagus block, forever barred from true shape-shifting. A poetic justice for those who warped another's form. Yet the allure lingers for dark wizards, promising power unmatched. The basilisk's milk reputed to grant near immortality, its hide impervious to most curses. No wonder the wizengamot prefers prevention over spectacle. One live basilisk in court would petrify the judges themselves. Through it all, the experimental breeding law stands as a bulwark, its 18th century words etched in goblin-forged stone. Tamper with life's weave at your peril, but as we'll uncover in Chapter 19, the Goblin Liaison Office. Those same goblins who craft such unbreakable edicts harbour resentments that make basilisk hunts look like playground squabbles. Tune in to see why their bureaucracy could topple ministries overnight. While the basilisk creation marked the pinnacle of forbidden breeding experiments in the 18th century, wizarding law drew even sharper lines when it came to the goblins. Those shrewd, silver-fingered artisans who've long simmered under the weight of unequal pacts. Tucked away in a dimly lit corner of the ministry's first level, the Goblin Liaison Office hums with the low murmur of perpetual negotiation, its walls lined with dusty scrolls etched in goblin runes that gleam faintly under torchlight. This is no ordinary department. It's the fragile thread, holding back centuries of resentment, where ministry officials in threadbare robes haggle over treaties that have teetered on the edge of rupture since the goblin rebellions of the 17th and 18th centuries. Picture the air in that office, thick with the metallic tang of forged silver and the faint, acrid bite of ink from goblin quills that never quite dry. Here, diplomats sift through the tense legal treaties between wizards and the goblin nation. Documents born from blood-soaked uprisings, like the one in 1612, when goblin warriors stormed Diagon Alley, demanding rights to their own crafted wonders. These treaties, ratified in smoky vaults beneath Gringotts, grant goblins autonomy in their underground realms, but bind them to wizarding oversight in surface dealings. Wizards control the wand trade. The ministry regulates goblin banking, and every sword, helmet, or goblet forged by goblin hands must bear a ministry stamp before it leaves the forges. Violate one clause, and the delicate balance shatters, reminiscent of 1752, when a single disputed heirloom sparked riots that echoed through Hogsmeade for months. At the heart of these treaties lies a prohibition sharper than any goblin blade. It's illegal for a goblin to carry a wand, not just discouraged, but outright forbidden under the wand monopoly. Act of 1637, a law carved from the ashes of the Third Goblin Revolt. Goblins, you see, possess an innate magic all their own, raw, elemental, channeled through metal and stone rather than wood. They craft wands for wizards at Ollivanders and elsewhere, embedding cores of dragon heartstring or phoenix feather into precise shafts of holly or vine. But they themselves are barred from wielding one. Why? Wizards feared goblin magic, amplified by a wand, would eclipse their own supremacy. In the revolt of 1612, goblin leaders, Griffuc's ancestors, enchanted swords to cleave through spells like parchment, forcing the ministry to concede. No wands for goblins, or face endless war. Enforcement falls to the liaison office, where aurors patrol Gringotts tunnels, confiscating any twig-like contraband with a swift expelliarmus. A goblin caught with a wand faces not just imprisonment in a wandless cell, but exile from their clan, a fate worse than death in their hierarchical society. This wand ban feeds into the deeper fissure, the ownership versus rental debate that fuels goblin rebellions even today. Goblins view every artifact they forge, be it a gleaming chalice or the sword of Godric Gryffindor, as an extension of their soul, imbued with permanent magic that binds it to them eternally. Wizards, however, insist on a rental model. You buy the item, but true ownership remains with the goblin maker, who can reclaim it at will if payments lapse or grievances mount. This clash erupted spectacularly in 1991, when Griffuc, Wayne reclaimed the Sword of Gryffindor from Harry Potter, citing the rental clause in the Treaty of 1743. Goblins see over heirlooms passed down wizard families for generations, only to be repossessed when a pure bloodline falls on hard times. The liaison office becomes a battlefield of legalese, with goblin representatives like the sharp-tongued Bogrod slamming fists on tables, demanding retroactive ownership of treasures buried in Hogwarts vaults. One unresolved case from 1927 still simmers. A cursed tiara, printed to a black family ancestor, now triggers whispers of rebellion every time a goblin appraiser nears the ministry vaults. Delve deeper, and you'll find the office's daily grind laced with intrigue. A junior liaison might spend hours translating the convoluted Treaty of Tintagel from 1689, which limits goblin expansion into Cornish mines, while allowing wizard prospectors free rein, or negotiating reparations from the 1612 revolt, where goblins were paid in illusory gold that vanished at dawn. A slight that still rankles. The air grows heavier during full moons, when werewolf advocates clash with goblin delegates over shared underground territories, treaties forbidding either from experimental encroachments. One infamous standoff in 1945 saw Minister for Magic Elmer Fubster barricaded in the office for 3 days, fending off a goblin delegation armed with contract scrolls that multiplied like doxes when challenged. Yet beneath the haggling lies a profound wizarding hypocrisy. Goblins, smarter than house elves and more cunning than centaurs, are classified as beings under the 1947 Being and Beast Act, granting them representation on the wizengamot, but only one seat, often left empty in protest. Their rebellions aren't mindless rage, they're calculated bids for equity in a world where wizards hoard wand law while goblins polish the galleons. The liaison office, with its creaking chairs and flickering fluke connections to Gringotts, stands as wizarding arrogance incarnate, a reminder that peace is rented, not owned. As these tensions simmer unresolved, they pale against the shadowy manipulations lurking in wizarding minds themselves. Up next in Chapter 20, Memory Charms, the Ethical Void. where we'll uncover how a single spell can rewrite reality, erase crimes, and leave victims wandering lost in their own lives, begging the question, if memories can be stolen legally, what remains of justice? I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. While goblin treaties keep wands out of non-human hands to preserve wizarding control, the Ministry faces a far more precarious daily battle, erasing traces of magic from the Muggle world before anyone notices the sparks flying. Every misplaced spell, every accidental burst of light in a crowded street demands an immediate response from the shadows. That's where the Obliviate charm steps in. The Ministry's go-to weapon for upholding the International Statute of Secrecy since 1792. Picture a rainy evening in London, the kind where fog clings to the cobblestones like a reluctant ghost. A young wizard, panicking after his broomstick, slips mid-flight over Trafalgar Square, crashes into a fountain with a splash that draws a crowd. Muggle eyes widen at the sight of the levitating debris. Whispers ripple through the onlookers. Before the Ministry's alarms even fully blare, a team of Obliviators apparates in, cloaked figures blending into the mist, wands drawn with practiced precision. One flick, a soft murmur of Obliviate, and the memory dissolves like smoke. The crowd blinks, shrugs, and disperses, convinced they saw nothing more than a street performer's trick gone wrong. This isn't rare heroics, it's routine. The Department of Magical Law Enforcement logs thousands of these interventions. Yearly, a silent army wiping clean the slate of wizarding slip-ups to protect that fragile veil of secrecy. The Ministry's reliance on Obliviate runs so deep, it's woven into the fabric of their operations. From the accidental magic reversal squad to international liaison teams stationed at Muggle airports, flying cars enchanted for speed, Obliviate the eyewitnesses. A house elf popping into a Muggle kitchen during a family dinner wiped the slate. Even Hogwarts mishaps, like first years setting robes ablaze in Diagon Alley, trigger the charm before shopkeepers can gossip. Without it, the Statute of Secrecy, born from witch hunts and torched villages, would crumble overnight. Wizards justify it as necessity, a lesser evil to avoid pitchforks and prosecutions. But peel back the wandwork, and you uncover a profound ethical void. What happens to the Muggles left staring at gaps in their own minds? These non-magical folk, blissfully unaware of the wizarding pulse beneath their world, have no vote, no voice in this forcible rewriting of their reality. Legally, Muggles hold zero standing in wizarding courts. The wizengamot doesn't convene for their grievances. Imagine the terror of a memory stolen. A parent's recollection of their child levitating toys, erased to safeguard some auror's patrol, or a driver's hazy drive home after glimpsing a phoenix in flight, chalked up to exhaustion. Non-existent. The charm plunges straight into the hippocampus, severing neural threads with surgical indifference. Reversals exist, rare potions brewed in St. Mungo's depths, but they're doled out only to wizards, never the unwitting victims. Petitions from Muggle rights advocates. Fringe groups, like the short-lived Society for the Protection of Muggle Minds, fizzle in Ministry corridors, dismissed as pro-Muggle sentimentality. The law prioritizes secrecy over autonomy, treating Muggle psyches as collateral damage in the grand illusion. This cavalier approach unravels spectacularly when memory modification goes wrong, as in the tragic case of Gilderoy Lockhart, the self-proclaimed hero, with his dazzling smile and fabricated tales, built an empire on pilfered glory. For years, he cornered fellow wizards. Rachel Lockhart in Romania, a Welsh warlock in a cave, obliviated their memories of their own feats, then claimed the credit in bestsellers. His wand danced with overconfidence until that fateful Chamber of Secrets showdown. In the dim tunnels beneath Hogwarts, as the group turned on him, Lockhart's backfiring Obliviate ricocheted through his own skull. What emerged wasn't a blank slate, but a shattered one. The man who once dazzled crowds with fabricated dragon slaying now wanders saint. Mungo's Janus Thicky Ward grinning vacantly, piecing together nonsense from fragments of stolen lives. Who am I? He babbles to nurses, mistaking pixies for fans. His case haunts ministry memoranda, a stark warning etched in confidential files. Even experts falter, leaving voids that no potion can fully mend. Lockhart's downfall exposes the cracks in Obliviate's armor. Unpredictable rebounds, especially on strong-willed targets or when layered over existing charms. Healer's whisper of memory echoes, phantom recollections surfacing in dreams, driving victims to Muggle asylums misdiagnosed with dementia. Yet the Ministry presses on, training fresh Obliviators at the Ministry's Memory Charm Academy, where recruits practice on simulated Muggle minds conjured from pensieve extracts. Regulations exist on paper, dosage limits for repeated exposures, bans on targeting children under 10. The enforcement lags, buried under the avalanche of daily breaches. Ethically, it's a wizarding Wild West. No mandatory counselling for altered Muggles, no reparations for lost careers from forgotten promotions witnessed by magic. One leaked report from the 1950s detailed a Muggle banker, stripped of a key deal's memory, who spiraled into bankruptcy, his family none the wiser. Whispers persist of underground resistance. Renegade Squibs smuggling Veritaserum to affected Muggles, sparking rare lawsuits in Muggle courts that fizzle for lack of proof. The statute demands silence, but at what cost? Wizards sleep soundly, their secrets intact, while Muggles navigate lives with invisible scars, questioning their sanity in quiet moments. The ethical void yawns wider with every cast spell, a reminder that power without oversight breeds quiet atrocities. As we turn from these mind-bending enforcements to the hidden regulations guarding wizarding conversations themselves, get ready for Chapter 21, where we'll uncover why eavesdropping on a fireplace chat could land you in Azkaban faster than an unforgivable curse, while the Ministry might wipe a Muggle's memory clean with a flick of oblivion to safeguard the Statute of Secrecy. They turn that same vigilance inward, watching their own wizards through the flickering green flames of every connected hearth. The Flu Network, that everyday miracle of wizarding travel and talk, hides a web of quiet oversight deeper than you might suspect. Picture the soft whoosh of flow powder, igniting in your sitting room grate, the sudden rush of emerald fire enveloping you as Diagon Alley spins into view. It's the wizard's subway, the Flu Network, linking thousands of fireplaces across Britain under strict regulation by the Department of Magical Transportation. But convenience comes laced with eyes. Every journey logs automatically at the central flow regulation panel in the Ministry basement, a vast chamber humming with enchanted quills that scratch out destinations, times and traveller names on endless rolls of parchment. Step into the fire from your own home, and they know where you're head before the soot settles on your robes. This isn't just about keeping tabs on trips to Hogsmeade or the Ministry atrium. Communication flows through those same flames too. Lean close to your hearth, murmur a name, and watch your head vanish into the fire to chat across town. Voices carrying on currents of magic. The Ministry monitors these calls with subtle charms woven into the network's core, filtering for keywords like Voldemort or Dementor sighting. It's all in the name of security, they say, rooted in post-Grindelwald reforms that expanded surveillance after rogue wizards used flu calls to coordinate attacks. A single hushed conversation about forbidden curses could trigger a howler from the improper use of Magic Office, delivered straight back through your own flames. Yet the system's reach doesn't stop at public hearths. Private homes connect voluntarily, but once linked, your fireplace becomes a node in the greater web. The Flu Network Authority requires annual inspections for safety compliance, which quietly installs monitoring runes disguised as maintenance charms. These detect not just travel, but the heat signatures of voices, the swirl of powder residue hinting at unlogged guests. During the First Wizarding War, this net caught whispers of Death Eater plots, saving lives but blurring lines between protection and prying. Even now, A wizard fluing to a known agitator's home might find aurors on the doorstep by morning, all traced from a single green flash. Deeper in the ministry's halls, that surveillance tightens into something more insidious. The interdepartmental memo system, a flock of enchanted paperbirds, flitting through corridors like living confetti, what looks like bureaucratic whimsy, memos folding into purple-winged projectiles, dodging ink pots and startled clerks, is pure internal control. Every memo originates from a standardized incantation in the typing pools, embedding a trace charm that logs sender, recipient, and content summary before it even lifts off. The Department of Magical Law Enforcement reviews flagged memos weekly, scanning for leaks or dissent. Arthur Weasley once confessed how one of his Muggle artifact rants circled back to his superior via an intercepted memo, nearly costing him a demotion. These memos don't just fly, they report. Advanced ones self-destruct after reading, but not before a ghostly duplicate whispers its essence to a central registry orb in the atrium, its surveillance disguised as efficiency, ensuring no department plots against another without the minister's ear. During Fudge's tenure, Memos exposed hushed talks of you now whose return, fueling paranoia that rippled through the ranks. Wizards joke about memo-proofing with confundus charms, but tampering carries a 50-galleon fine and mandatory outpost only for a month. Of course, boundaries exist. Etched into the Flu Privacy Act of 1947, a grudging nod to wizarding rights after wartime overreach, tapping a wizard's home hearth, diverting flames to eavesdrop or reroute travellers, demands a wizengamot warrant, signed by 3 senior judges and justified by imminent threat to secrecy. Without it, it's a felony, punishable by 6 months in Azkaban and wand confiscation. The law carves out your parlour fire as semi-sacred, allowing only passive logging unless suspicion boils over. Yet loopholes linger. Emergency taps for national crises, invoked by the minister alone, as Umbridge did during her regime. Sifting through private flow calls for disloyalty. Enforcement tests these edges daily. Remember Mad-Eye Moody, forever muttering about constant vigilance. He championed hearth taps in the field, arguing the statute demands it. But even he drew the line at non-combatants. A landmark case in 1982 saw a pure-blood family sue after their flow was tapped sans warrant during a goblin rights debate. The wizengamot ruled in their favour, awarding 200 galleons and striking the tap from records. Still, the chill persists. Most wizards self-censor around the hearth, voices dropping low when politics heat up. This dance of fire and secrecy underscores how the wizarding world balances freedom with fear. Every green flame a potential informant, but what happens when that caution slips into the thrill of the Quidditch pitch, where a little bottled fortune could upend the game? Up next, liquid luck and sporting integrity pulls back the curtain on rules that keep broomsticks honest and champions fair, while the ministry logs every flicker of green flame in your flu connection and tracks those enchanted memos zipping through the atrium like persistent paper wasps. Their surveillance sharpens to a razor's edge when it comes to the roar of a Quidditch stadium. Picture the thunder of broomsticks slicing through the chill autumn air at the Holyhead Harpies pitch, the crowd's breath held as the snitch glints like fool's gold under floodlights. But beneath that spectacle lurks a potion so potent, it's been outlawed from every broom-mounted chase and every candlelit exam hall. Felix Felicis, the elusive liquid luck. This golden elixir, brewed to perfection over a cauldron 6-month simmer, doesn't just nudge fortune your way, it floods your veins with an uncanny certainty. One sip and the world bends. Doors swing open unbidden, enemies trip on their own robes, answers whisper themselves into your quill. Harry Potter himself glimpsed its power in Slughorn's classroom, that shimmering vial promising 12 hours of flawless fate. Yet the ministry drew a hard line decades ago, embedding the ban deep into the sporting code and academic statutes. No Felix in the O, W, L, S, where nervous 16-year-olds hunch over transfiguration charts, nor in N, E, W, ITS with their labyrinthine potions essays, and in organised competitions, strictly verboten. The International Quidditch Rulebook, ratified in 1892 after a scandal at the European Cup, spells it out. Any use of fortune-altering substances voids the match, strips titles, and invites a lifetime suspension. Why? Because luck, when bottled, isn't luck at all. It's a cheat that unravels the raw grit of the game. Enforcement starts with the eyes in the stands. Department of Magical Games and Sports spotters, wands humming under their cloaks, scanning for the telltale signs. Riders who weave through bludgers with impossible precision. Chasers who arc shots that defy wind shear. Seekers who pluck the snitch from a swarm like it's magnetized to their gloves. But the real hunt happens post-match, in the dim-lit labs of St. Mungo's doping wing. There, healers draw vials of sweat-soaked blood, subjecting it to the Felix residue charm, a finicky incantation that glows azure if even a trace lingers. Developed in the 1920s after the infamous Puddlemere United affair, where their captain confessed to guzzling half a flask before the cup final. This spell detects the potion's unique byproduct, a sparkle of coerced serendipity in the bloodstream. False positives are rare, but the Ministry errs on the side of caution, cross-referencing with broom telemetry. Enchanted bristles that log altitude and speed, flagging maneuvers too serendipitous for mere skill. One whiff of anomaly, and the aurors descend, confiscating brooms and interrogating under veritaserum if needed. Of course, bans breed shadows, and the black market for liquid luck thrives in the underbelly of Diagon Alley. Nocturne's gloomier corners hum with whispers. Shady apothecaries peddling Fortuna's kiss in murky phials, smuggled from rogue brewers in the Carpathians, or knockoffs brewed in goblin forges. Prices soar into the thousands of galleons per dram, traded in unmarked Gringotts vaults or via owl-delivered promises. Desperate students slip it into pumpkin juice before charms practicals. Pro players dose before bluffs, chasing that edge over rivals like the windborne wasps. But the Ministry's raids are relentless, improper use of magic office squads, tipped by house elf informants, smash through backroom distilleries, seizing cauldrons mid-bubble. Convictions mean Azkaban stints, from 2 years for possession to life for distribution networks tied to dark syndicates. Then there's the overdose, a reckless plunge few survive unscathed. Felix Felicis obeys no half measures. Too much and the potion turns tyrant. Your body, flooded with fabricated fortune, chases probability to madness. You'll vault over obstacles that aren't there, dodge curses from empty air, laugh as real dangers multiply unchecked. Victims recount it in trembling Ministry hearings. Hours lost in a haze of escalating recklessness, ending in shattered bones from falls no sober witch would take, or arrests for incidents like attempting to transfigure a dragon into a teacup mid-flight. The record overdose, logged in 1947, left a Chudley Cannon's reserve player institutionalized, his mind a perpetual spin of what-ifs, convinced every shadow held a winning lottery ticket. Healers call it fallacious recoil, the crash when the luck drains, leaving you adrift in a world suddenly hostile, every decision a gamble gone sour. This obsession with pure play extends far beyond the pitch, touching the wilder fringes of wizarding diplomacy, where hooves meet hard law. Up next, Chapter 23. The Centaur Liaison Bureau. Why these stargazers hold the Ministry's treaties in contempt, and the forbidden pacts that could upend everything. If you're drifting off with us tonight, drop in the comments how many nights in a row. Or if it's your first, say nighty night, sweet dreams. While the Ministry deploys specialised auras to sniff out traces of Felix Felicis on Quidditch pitches, their approach to regulating truly sentient species unravels into outright chaos, especially when you reach the dusty corridors of the Centaur Liaison Bureau. Tucked away in the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures, this office sounds official enough, with its stacks of star charts and half-hearted diplomatic parchments, but it stands as a monument to wizarding arrogance. a place where good intentions clash headlong with ancient pride. Picture the dimly lit halls of the ministry, where civil servants pore over yellowed tomes, under flickering lumos spells, debating the fine line between what qualifies as a being and what gets shoved into the beast category. Beings, you see, earn a sliver of legal recognition. Think goblins with their wandless treaty rights, or house elves enduring their peculiar servitude under the law. Beasts, on the other hand, face breeding bans, import quotas, and outright extermination orders if they stray too close to human settlements. The ministry's classification system, etched into law since the early days of the International Confederation of Wizards, hinges on a wizard-centric checklist. Can it use complex speech, forge tools, grasp abstract concepts like astronomy? But here's where it all crumbles into a legal disaster. Centaurs tick every box for being Augustus and then some. They navigate the cosmos with prophecies drawn from the stars, brew potions from forest herbs that rival any apothecaries, and maintain tribal councils that make the wizengamot look like a squabbling tea party. Yet the ministry stubbornly labels them beasts, a holdover from medieval witch hunts, when wizards feared anything that walked upright and spoke in riddles. This isn't just bureaucratic sloppiness, it's a powder keg. Legally, it strips centaurs of representation in wizarding courts. If a centaur wounds a wizard in self-defense during a forbidden forest skirmish, it's treated as a rabid animal attack, not a dispute between equals. No trial by wizengamot peers, no appeal to the Charter of Rights, just a department for the regulation and control squad swooping in with containment spells. Wizards have tried lawsuits to reclassify them, petitions piling up like autumn leaves in the forbidden forest, but the ministry digs in, terrified of granting full sentient status to every herd from Dartmoor to the Mongolian steppes. The fallout. Border raids turn bloody, alliances fray, and the Statute of Secrecy teeters whenever a centaur's arrow finds a muggle hiker who wandered too close to their glades. Centaurs, for their part, couldn't care less about wizarding parchment. They refuse outright to participate in any law that doesn't flow from the stars themselves. Deep in the forbidden forest, under canopies woven thick with enchantment, their herds gather around roaring campfires, divining the future in the dance of constellations. Firenze once told Harry Potter of their disdain for human hubris, their belief that wizards meddle where they shouldn't, chaining magic to rules instead of letting it roam free. When ministry envoys from the liaison bureau trot up, often on rented Abraxan steeds, looking ridiculous, they're met with silence or scorn. No signatures on treaties, no registration of their archery skills or herbal lore. During the Battle of Hogwarts, centaurs charged into the fray on their own terms, not because of some diplomatic memo, but because the stars decreed it. This refusal creates enforcement nightmares. How do you fine a species that laughs at galleons? How do you prosecute under the improper use of magic office when your defendant vanishes into mist-shrouded woods, leaving only hoofprints and a cryptic prophecy? To paper over these cracks, the ministry leans on a shadowy arm known as the Office of Misinformation, a quiet subsection buried even deeper in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Its wizards don't just obliviate Muggle witnesses. They craft elaborate fictions to conceal non-human cultures from prying eyes, both Muggle and wizarding alike. For centaurs, this means spinning tales of feral horsemen in Muggle folklore books, half-truths leaked through enchanted printing presses to explain away sightings of starry-eyed figures galloping across Exmoor at midnight. Internally, it suppresses records of centaur wisdom, reclassifying accurate star charts as beast behaviours to avoid embarrassing the classification system. Remember the 1930s incident near Bodmin Moor? A centaur herd clashed with Muggle poachers, leaving behind a trail of what looked like enchanted arrows. The office swooped in, planting stories of wild animal attacks in the Daily Prophet and Muggle press alike, complete with falsified photographs of ordinary deer. Their mandate extends to all overlooked peoples. Merfolk hymns rewritten whale songs, goblin metallurgy dismissed as natural ore deposits. It's a web of deception that keeps the wizarding world smugly superior, but at the cost of genuine alliances, ensuring centaurs view every ministry owl as a harbinger of insult. You can almost hear the low whinny of protest echoing through those forest clearings. The scrape of hooves on ancient oak roots as centaurs turn their backs on a system that reduces their celestial knowledge to beastly instinct. The liaison bureau's door swings open to empty rooms, envoys returning with nothing but bruised egos and ink-stained fingers from unsigned accords. This legal tangle doesn't just hobble diplomacy. It blinds wizards to prophecies that could avert disasters, forcing reliance on fragile truces that shatter like glass under a full moon. And as we leave the starry disputes of the Centaur Liaison Bureau behind, prepare yourself for Chapter 24. Time Turners? Regulating the impossible, where the Ministry's grip on time itself unravels in that will make you question every second you've ever lived. While Centaurs turn their backs on wizarding law, scorning its short-sighted grip on the present, the Ministry has always trembled at forces that reach beyond it, straight into the threads of time itself. Time Turners, those delicate golden hourglasses chained with intricate spells, don't just bend hours. They tempt wizards to rewrite what shouldn't be undone. Picture the dim glow of the Department of Mysteries, deep in the Ministry's bowels, where the air hums with the faint tick of sand slipping eternally through glass. These devices, forged by unspeakables in secrecy, allow a witch or wizard to twist back the clock, but only so far, and under eyes that never blink. Their existence traces to the late 19th century, when reckless experiments nearly unraveled the fabric of reality. In 1899, a wave of disaster struck, aurors vanishing mid-apparition, trials replaying with verdicts flipped overnight, even the Hogwarts Express derailing twice in the same dawn. Whispers spread of wizards meddling too deeply, their small tweaks spiraling into tempests that threatened to expose the entire wizarding world. That chaos birthed the strict 1899 laws on time travel, etched into the Ministry's most unyielding code. At their core sits the 5-hour rule, a brutal limiter carved from those near cataclysms. No time turner could loop more than 5 hours into the past. No exceptions, no extensions. Why 5? Because data from the Unspeakable's grim logs showed that shorter jumps mended minor errors, like a missed potion brew or a fumbled spell in class, without ripping paradoxes wide open. Push beyond, and the risks multiplied. A healed wound in the past might erase a child's birth in the present, or a whispered warning could prevent a crime that birthed an entire auror division. The laws mandated registration for every use, with Ministry overseers logging each grain of sand that fell backward. Violators faced not just Azkaban, but wand snaps and memory wipes to ensure they couldn't plot a second attempt. Enforcement turned ruthless. Time turners weren't scattered across vaults or loaned like broomsticks. The entire stock, fewer than a dozen at any time, was confined to a single room in the Department of Mysteries, the Time Chamber. Iron gates etched with anti-apparition wards sealed it, flanked by silent sentinels under Fidelius charms that shifted daily. Why one room? Theft was the least fear. The real terror was proliferation. A single rogue device in the wrong hands could multiply disasters. Imagine a dark wizard slipping back to assassinate a key wizengamot judge, or a grieving parent trying to save a lost child, only to orphan a generation. Centralizing them allowed constant surveillance. Proximity charms alerted to any unauthorized touch, and the room's walls, woven with temporal dampeners, prevented even the most cunning duplication spells from working. Only Time Room Unspeakables, vetted across 3 generations, could access them, and even then, under polyjuice-proof oaths sworn on their own timelines. Hermione Granger's sanctioned use during her 3rd year at Hogwarts offers a rare glimpse into controlled application. Extra classes without the world noticing, but stray too far and the legal noose tightens. The laws decree that any temporal interference must preserve causality, alter an event, and you're liable for every ripple. A student saving a friend from a fall might inadvertently cause that friend to miss a crucial exam, leading to expulsion. Now, the saviour faces charges of educational sabotage. Aurors testing the edge once rewrote a raid, capturing a fugitive early. The paradox looped them into their own arrest, trapped in a cell they themselves had fortified. Delve deeper, and the catastrophic legal implications of changing the past emerge like shadows from a shattered glass. Who prosecutes a crime uncommitted? If you prevent a murder yesterday, does the victim's family sue you for denying their grief-fueled lawsuit today? The Ministry's Temporal Integrity Court, a shadowy offshoot of the wizengamot, grapples with this nightmare. Precedents pile up from 1899 onward. The case of Elias Hawthorne, who turned back to win a galleon bet, only for his winnings to vanish, as the original loser never placed the wager. Hawthorne bankrupted and imprisoned for fraud against himself. Or the Blackpool breach, where a healer mended a muggle's injury pre-statute violation. The healed man remembered magic, breaching secrecy anew, with the healer liable for both original and emergent exposures. Penalties cascade, fines in the thousands of galleons, dementor exposure for repeat offences, and for the gravest, obliteration of the offender's timeline branch, leaving them a ghost in their own unaltered life. These rules bind tighter than any curse, a reminder that time isn't a river to ford but a web where one tug felled empires. Wizards chafed, smuggling crude prototypes or begging goblin artificers for loopholes, but the Ministry crushed them all, fortifying that single room as the unbreakable heart of regulation. Even Voldemort, in his reign of terror, hesitated to raid it fully. His seers warned of timelines where his rise never sparked. The 5-hour rule endures, a fragile piece against the void. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. Your steady presence makes these late nights feel like shared secrets. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here, and if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Yet amid these temporal chains, what happens to those the magic skips entirely, born into wands and wonder, but wielding neither? Chapter 25, Squibs and the Law, uncovers the heartbreaking statutes that exile the Wandless from their own world and the underground fights brewing against them. You won't believe how close they came to appending everything. While the Ministry hoarded every last time-turner in that single dusty room under the 1,899 laws, enforcing their 5-hour rule with ironclad precision, they overlooked a far more precarious loophole in wizarding society. One that left entire lives dangling in legal limbo. Squibs, those rare children born to magical parents yet utterly devoid of any spark of magic, exist in a shadow realm where the law simply doesn't reach. Picture a newborn in a pure-blood manor, the air thick with expectation as midwives hover, wands at the ready. Normally, a wizard child's first cry unleashes a burst of uncontrolled magic. Objects rattle, candles flare, the very walls shimmer with latent power. The Ministry's quills scratch instantly, logging the birth into their vast registry of magical citizens. But for a squib, silence falls. No magical echo ripples through the ether. No owl arrives from the Department of Magical Law Enforcement with a congratulatory scroll or a warning about the trace. That child, flesh and blood of wizards, vanishes from official sight before they've even drawn a full breath. This erasure isn't accidental, it's baked into the system's bones. The Wizarding Census, that sprawling ledger maintained by the Ministry's Population Division, tallies only those with verifiable magical potential. Squibs trigger none of the detection charms woven into every wizarding birth ward. Why bother recording them? The old guard might whisper in smoke-filled wizengamot chambers, their muggle-born in reverse, anomalies best shuffled off to the non-magical world, lest they embarrass their lineages, or complicate the pure blood tallies so prized by families like the Malfoys or Blacks. Filch, the bitter caretaker of Hogwarts, embodied this neglect, squashed underfoot by students who saw him as less than wizard. yet barred from Muggle society by his upbringing. No census entry meant no rights, no protections, just a lifetime skirting the edges of both worlds. And here's where the true chill sets in. The lack of legal protection for non-magical children of wizards. Wizarding law, forged in the fires of the International Statute of Secrecy, shields its own with layers of parchment and precedent. The Wizengamot Charter grants wizards the right to trial by their peers. Wand-verified oaths, even appeals to the chief warlock. But a squib, assaulted by a pure-blood thug in Diagon Alley, the ministry shrugs. "You're not one of us," they say, nudging you toward Muggle constables who wouldn't know a stinging hex from a stubbed toe. Inheritance laws favour the magically gifted. A squib sibling might watch their family vault seal shut. Galleons funneled to cousins who can at least light a lumos. Marriage contracts dissolve unspoken, dowries reclaimed. Even basic welfare, potions for ailments accessed, Mungo slips away as hospital elves turn up empty records on their admission scrolls. Delve deeper, and you uncover why squibs are often excluded from the census and official records altogether. It's a deliberate veil, rooted in the Warlocks Convention of 1709, when secrecy trumped compassion. Track a squib through the archives, and you'll find ghosts. A smudged footnote in the Black family tapestry, a hushed entry in the Gaunt ledger, scrubbed clean after generations of shame. The ministry's rationale, exposure risk. A registered squib could blab to muggles, or worse, demand integration. Better to let them fade into platforms 9 3/4 blind spots. Raised by house elves, or shipped to distant aunts in the Muggle suburbs. Ariana Dumbledore's tragic fate whispers of this. Though magical, her uncontrolled outbursts isolated her, but imagine a squib sibling, doubly damned, with no Dumbledore name to shield them from total obscurity. This feeds straight into the invisible citizen problem in the wizarding justice system. A gaping void that swallows pleas whole. Step into the ministry's echoing courtrooms, where the air hums with Veritaserum vapours and the wizengamot's purple robes rustle like dry leaves. Wizards accused of everything from cauldron tampering to dark-mark tattoos get their day. Witnesses summoned, wands confiscated for inspection. A squib, though, no standing, no representation. If they stumble into a crime scene, say witnessing a Death Eater skirmish, they're shooed away as Muggle interlopers, their testimony dismissed without a pensive glance. Criminals exploit this. Why obliviate a witness when you can just declare them non-existent? Filch himself patrolled Hogwarts halls for decades, enforcing rules he couldn't wield magic to uphold, his grievances evaporating in bureaucratic mist. During Voldemort's first rise, squibs vanished into the night, uncounted, unprotected. Prime targets for werewolves or worse, with no auror patrols dispatched for the unregistered. The cruelty compounds in everyday cruelties. A squib heir, ousted from the family seat, sues for wrongful exclusion. The Wizengamot chuckles. Prove your magical lineage, they demand, knowing full well the census holds no proof. Educational rights. Hogwarts letters never arrive, and no law mandates wizarding tutors for the powerless. Even post-war reforms under Kingsley Shacklebolt skimmed the surface, adding token clauses for magically impaired citizens that required census proof. Catch-22 for the unlisted. Families like the Fawcetts or Spungs buried their squib kin in Muggle orphanages, wiping memories to preserve the bloodline myth. All legal because no record, no recourse. Whispers persist of underground squib networks, huddled in forgotten corners of Nocturne Alley, forging Muggle papers and bartering for diluted potions. But the law turns a blind eye, as it always has. This invisible underclass underscores the wizarding world's rot. Laws that dazzle with complexity for the gifted, yet crumble to dust for those born without a wand's whisper. Yet the darkest twists to wizarding legislation came when power shifted hands entirely. Up next in Chapter 26, the Voldemort reforms. We'll unravel how the Dark Lord twisted these very laws into weapons of terror, legalizing horrors that made even Azkaban seem merciful. Stay tuned. because what he did to the justice system will leave you questioning every ministry missive, while Squibs slipped through the cracks of official records, treated as embarrassing footnotes by a society that prized magical blood above all. The true horror unfolded for those wizards born to Muggle parents when the ministry fell in 1997. Voldemort's coup didn't shatter the wizarding world with brute force alone. It slithered in through the corridors of power, twisting the very laws meant to protect its citizens into instruments of terror. Picture the atrium that fateful summer day, the golden statues melting into grotesque new forms under a sky choked with dark marks. Pious Thickness, puppeted by the imperious curse, declared himself Minister for Magic. But it was the quiet infiltration that did the real damage. Death Eaters like Yaxley had burrowed deep into the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Months earlier, their loyalties sworn not to justice, but to the Dark Lord. The ministry's legal framework, built on centuries of precedent like the International Statute of Secrecy, suddenly became a weapon in their hands. Existing decrees on wand registration, once mundane bureaucracy to track ownership after Ollivander's shops issued them, were warped overnight. No new laws needed, just a ruthless reinterpretation that branded Muggle-borns as thieves of magic. At the heart of this nightmare stood the Muggle-born Registration Commission, a perversion of existing law so insidious it masqueraded as due process. Headed by Dolores Umbridge, with a toad-like smile and pink quills scratching out condemnations, the commission summoned Muggle-borns one by one to the ministry's cold interrogation rooms. They were forced to confess how they'd stolen their wands and powers from upstanding wizarding families, echoing twisted pure-blood propaganda. Wands snapped like brittle twigs, families torn apart, and trials devolved into showpieces broadcast on the Prophet's front pages. This wasn't invention from thin air. It hijacked the Wand Permissions Act of 1784, which required all wands to be registered upon purchase. That simple safeguard, meant to prevent dark artifacts from falling into rogue hands, now justified mass disarmament. Victims like Dirk Cresswell, a skilled linguist from the Goblin Liaison Office, were dragged in chains to Azkaban, their magic declared forfeit, because their parents drove Ford Anglius instead of broomsticks. What made this takeover so chilling was how effortlessly the legal system dismantled from the inside. The Wizengamot, that ancient council of robed elders sworn to the Charter of Rights, folded without a fight. Witnesses weren't called. Defense was a joke. Fear rippled through the ranks. Judges who resisted vanished into Dementor-haunted cells, replaced by sycophants eager for favour. The improper use of Magic Office, once fining Arthur Weasley 50 galleons for a charmed Muggle car, now issued blanket warrants for Muggle taint. Even the Trace, that invisible net over underage wizards, was retooled to spy on families, flagging any hint of non-magical blood. Loyalty oaths poured from the fountain in the atrium, enchanted ink binding employees to silence or oblivion. No grand rebellion stormed the gates. It was betrayal by paper and quill, the bureaucracy eating itself alive. Deep in the ministry's bowels, memos fluttered like panicked birds, interdepartmental whispers coordinating the purge. Umbridge's office reeked of saccharine perfume and ink, files bulging with birth certificates, pilfered from Muggle records. Ironic, given how Squibs evaded those same lists. Confessions extracted under Veritaserum weren't for truth but spectacle, printed verbatim to shame the mudbloods. One by one, department heads like Percy Weasley parroted the new orthodoxy, their ambition blinding them to the noose tightening around necks like Hermione Granger's, who barely escaped with her life. The Unforgivable Curses, once met with life in Azkaban, were quietly greenlit for interrogations, their prohibition fluid under martial decree. This internal rot exposed the wizarding legal system's fragility, a house of cards stacked on trust and tradition, rather than ironclad checks. The International Confederation of Wizards watched from afar, paralysed by the Statute of Secrecy that bound them to non-interference. Dragon breeders faced audits for pure blood loyalty, Centaurs sneered from the forbidden forest, their treaties ignored. Even Gamp's law, forbidding food from nothing, hailed against the starvation of justice. Prisons overflowing, galleons seized to fund the regime. Why so easy? Because power in the wizarding world flowed through bloodlines and wands, not votes or constitutions. A single imperious on the right mind, a few key appointments, and the edifice crumbled, revealing how much hinged on the goodwill of those in crimson robes. As the Battle of Hogwarts raged, with spells cracking the castle's stones and fiend fire devouring Horcruxes, the ministry lay gutted, its reforms a stain that no scouring charm could erase. But from those ashes rose desperate efforts to rebuild, purging the poison and rewriting the rules before another Dark Lord could exploit the cracks. In the next chapter, post-war legal reconstruction, discover the frantic trials, the emergency edicts, and the shadowy deals that tried to stitch the wizarding world back together. Did they succeed, or just paper over deeper flaws? As the dust settled from Voldemort's coup, and the Muggle-born Registration Commission crumbled under its own weight of fabricated injustices, the wizarding world faced a ministry rotten to its core, laws twisted into tools of terror that demanded a complete overhaul. Kingsley Shacklebolt, the auror, who had fought on the front lines with unyielding resolve, stepped into the minister's office not as a conqueror, but as a surgeon wielding the scalpel of reform. He knew the old statutes, forged in the shadows of persecution, had long outlived their purpose, harbouring clauses that quietly discriminated against werewolves, giants, and anyone who didn't fit the pure-blood mould. Picture the dimly lit chambers of the ministry's Department of Magical Law Enforcement, stacks of yellowed parchments piled high like ancient grudges, each one etched with prohibitions born from 17th century witch hunts. Shacklebolt's first act was to convene the wizengamot in emergency session, his deep voice echoing through the stone halls as he declared war on the discriminatory underbelly of wizarding law. Laws that barred half-breeds from certain professions, restricted squib rights to even basic wandless education, and mandated blood status registries for international travel. They all came under his scrutiny. He rallied a task force of progressive lawmakers, poring over the International Statute of Secrecy itself, questioning how its secrecy mandate had morphed into a shield for prejudice. One by one, relics fell. The Werewolf Registry Act, which forced monthly reporting under threat of Azkaban, was dismantled, replaced with voluntary support programs offering wolfsbane potion subsidies. Giant integration clauses, relics from goblin rebellions, were rewritten to promote diplomatic outreach rather than containment. Even the obscure edicts against mixed unions in high society were struck down, their parchment curling into flames in ceremonial burnings, witnessed by cheering crowds outside the ministry atrium. Shacklebolt's efforts to purge the ministry of discriminatory laws weren't just bureaucratic house cleaning, they were a reckoning, ensuring that the scars of blood purity dogma would never again fester in the legal code. But no reform cut deeper than the reckoning with Azkaban itself, that fortress of despair rising from the North Sea like a blackened tooth against stormy skies. For centuries, Dementors had glided through its cells, their rattling breaths sucking joy from the air, feeding on the inmates' despair in a penal philosophy that equated punishment with soul-crushing torment. Shacklebolt, haunted by tales of Sirius Black's wrongful suffering, and countless others broken there, issued the permanent ban on Dementors at Azkaban, driving those hooded horrors back to the shadowed corners from whence they came. No longer would justice rely on creatures that embodied depression itself. Instead, a new philosophy emerged, one rooted in rehabilitation over retribution. Guards trained in advanced Patronus charms patrolled the Isle now, their silver stags and phoenixes illuminating the fog-shrouded towers. Cells once echoing with inmates' hollow screams were refitted with basic amenities, windows allowing slivers of sunlight, libraries stocked with reformative texts, even experimental house elf mediators for grievance hearings. The shift in penal philosophy marked a profound evolution. Crimes like the Unforgivable Curses still earned life terms, but served in humane isolation, with appeals processes streamlined and veritaserum trials standardized to prevent miscarriages like Barty Crouch Jr.'s frame-ups. Shacklebolt envisioned Azkaban not as a soul shredder, but a place where even the darkest wizard might glimpse redemption, a fragile light piercing the penal gloom. Yet modernization proved an uphill battle against a legal system built on 17th century fears. Those primal terrors of Muggle witchfinders and dragon rampages that had birthed the Warlocks' Convention of 1709. Shacklebolt's quill hovered over the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery, debating whether the trace's rigid age 17 cutoff still made sense in a world of homeschooling wands and Muggle-born secrecy challenges. Environmental regs on basilisk breeding and raora poaching, penned amid medieval superstitions, clashed with calls for sustainable creature rights. The improper use of Magic Office grappled with Gamp's laws, debating if conjuring loopholes for food scarcity post-war warranted exceptions. Debates raged in smoke-filled wizengamot chambers, old guard purebloods clutching at traditions like the age manipulation impossibilities proven by the goblet of fire, while younger voices pushed for time-turner audits beyond the 5-hour rule's archaic limits. Shacklebolt navigated it all with patient resolve, amending the Wizengamot Charter to include Muggle-born advocates on panels, slowly chipping away at the fear-frozen foundations. The struggle to modernize dragged on, each repealed clause a victory snatched from history's grip. But whispers persist of resistance in hidden corners, laws too entrenched to fully exercise. Through it all, Shacklebolt's vision reshaped the wizarding world from a fortress of suspicion into something resembling equity, though the work was far from done. And as we turn our gaze ahead to Chapter 28, the future of secrecy, you'll wonder just how fragile the International Statute truly is in a Muggle world hurtling toward digital revelation. As Kingsley Shacklebolt steered the Ministry through its post-war purge, stripping away discriminatory edicts and banishing Dementors from Azkaban forever, one ancient pillar remained unshaken: the International Statute of Secrecy, that 1692 decree born from the ashes of witch hunts and Muggle persecutions. Shacklebolt's reforms reshaped punishment and prejudice, but they left the wizarding world's greatest veil intact, a fragile barrier against a Muggle realm hurtling toward unprecedented connectivity. Picture the quiet dread in ministry boardrooms 2 decades after Voldemort's fall. Muggle smartphones had exploded into every pocket, their cameras capturing the flicker of a stray lumos or the whoosh of a poorly aimed apparition. No longer could a single auror swoop in with a swift obliviate. One shaky video could ripple across the globe in seconds, liked and shared by millions, before the memory charm squad even mobilized. The statute, once enforced by isolated incidents, like Arthur Weasley's enchanted Ford Anglia de Joyride, now faced an existential siege from viral feeds and satellite eyes. Wizards in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement started logging anomalies. A grainy clip from a London street showing a witch vanishing a traffic jam with a casual flick, racking up views before international obliviators could coordinate with Muggle authorities. In Brazil, a Quidditch practice gone awry lit up TikTok equivalents, forcing a global memory wipe that strained resources to the breaking point. The old ways, warnings, even Azkaban for the reckless crumbled under the weight of data streams that no Confundus charm could fully erase. This is the heart of the dilemma. Can the Statute of Secrecy survive in the age of Muggle smartphones? Every witch or wizard knows the stakes. A single breach today isn't a village rumour, it's a planetary broadcast, algorithms amplifying the impossible until Muggle governments demand answers. The Ministry's trace spells, once foolproof for underage spells, pale against GPS-tracked wands and facial recognition spotting cloaked figures at protests. Even the most diligent pure-blood families whisper about it at Hogwarts reunions. How long before a viral flow network mishap or a rogue Patronus lights up the evening news? Debate simmered in the Wizengamot, radical voices proposing what some called the Disclosure Act, a theoretical bill to shatter the statute entirely, revealing magic to the Muggle world under controlled terms. Proponents argued it would end the exhaustion of endless cover-ups, allowing wands in hospitals to heal the sick, potions to cure famines, and broomsticks to revolutionize transport. Imagine Muggle leaders at the International Confederation table, collaborating on hybrid defenses against dark forces, or house elves freed without fear of exposure. Yet the shadows of history loomed large. Disclosure would unleash chaos. Panicked Muggles storming Diagon Alley, religious wars reignited by Avada Kedavra footage, economies collapsing as conjured gold floods markets. Violating Gamp's law or not, the temptation would spark black markets overnight. Wizards, long hidden, might face registration commissions worse than Voldemort's, their blood status dissected under microscopes. The magical creatures, dragons, basilisks, thestrals, poached to extinction in Muggle labs, and the unforgivable curses. No more quiet Azkaban sentences. They'd fuel global hunts, turning every wand a potential terrorist tool. The Act's drafters envisioned safeguards, phased revelation starting with world leaders, Muggle education programs via enchanted broadcasts, even joint ministries. But simulations in the Pensieve archives painted dystopias. Riots in Times Square, at the sight of a hovering ministry owl, or Silicon Valley tycoons reverse engineering portkeys for profit. Integration sounded noble until you factored the raw terror of a world where every smartphone films your next spell. Even as these ideas faded to fringe pamphlets, the statute endures, patched with cutting-edge countermeasures. Experimental anti-video charms that glitch Muggle lenses, deepfake detectors woven into social platforms by undercover unspeakables, and alliances with Muggle tech firms disguised as cybersecurity firms. Yet cracks persist. A teenager's Instagram reel of a self-stirring cauldron nearly toppled it all in 2022. In the end, these weirdest laws, the ones that twist logic and demand eternal vigilance, prove most necessary because they shield not just wizards, but the delicate balance of two worlds teetering on coexistence. The statute isn't folly, it's survival, a reminder that some truths, once loosed, reshape reality in ways no reversing spell can mend. Without it, the magic that binds us might unravel the very fabric we cherish. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter,